Hello and welcome to unMadeGaming, guys. It is Wednesday, and we are back here with Blades in the Dark, 6 and 20, the Shroud. And for the first time in weeks, I should be speaking while we're live for the first time in forever. Good stuff. Great. No one's complaining. Perfect. So, guys, we're back with the Shroud, episode 2 of season 2, and we're going to get into some interesting shit today. So, we'll jump to our newest member, Grimjack21502. Who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing tonight?
I am Greg, Grimjack21502 on Twitch and Twitter, and I will be playing the newest member of the Shroud, Steam. Steam is a self-proclaimed assassin and lover of all things in the darkness. And currently he has been added to the security detail of one Lord Bowerstone. So we shall see how that goes.
That's true. Speaking of one Lord Bowerstone, Quick Gaming, who are you? What are you doing here? And who is Lord Reymond Bowerstone?
He is an absolute nobody, but he's going to become a somebody. So yeah, I'm Slave from Quick Gaming. I play the one, the only Lord Bowerstone. And yeah, starting off from last episode, things certainly got interesting with more intrigue coming out. So I'm looking forward to how that's going to develop.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how much more confused Bowerstone can get.
We solved the age-old question of what is a Tigerosi.
Speaking of other Tigerosies, Miss Jinta Ninja, who are you, what are you doing here, and who is the mysterious Tigerosi that you'll be playing?
I'm playing OC, and I'm pretty pumped to get more into our backstory starting today.
Sweet.
I think we got a good group dynamic going. No one's died, and we have some pretty stupid, crazy ideas that probably aren't going to work, so I'm pretty pumped.
I'm also pretty excited for it. And last, but definitely least, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And what are you going to let us get into today?
Well, I'm Johnny. I'm VideostoreCowboy. I'm the GM for 6 and 20, both here and on Speedy's channel, Not So Speedruns. Next Tuesday, we will be starting the third crew on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Casting is not complete yet, so we may start with just 2 people, but we'll see what happens with that. Where are we going today? Well, you guys got through essentially the fallout from 2 explosions in one city while dealing with the gala, and subsequently met Steam, who killed his introduction. Steam, again, thank you for the voice. Everybody who loves your voice and is looking forward to and anticipating, etc., etc.
He's actually a phone sex operator by day. If you guys are interested, you can call him. I'll give you his number. I'll put it on Twitter.
Is it livejasmine.com/Steam?
Yeah, it's livejasmine.com/unMadeSteam. You gotta have branding in there.
Steamy Shroud.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys got through essentially the day. You settled in some place. Nyx had a interesting conversation with the demon, who showed him a vision. Bowerstone and OC made it back to one of her establishments in Night Market because they couldn't actually make it through Crowsfoot to get to Silk Shore. The city is under martial law, and Steam was just kind of looking around, going and keeping track of things. So with all that, we open up with downtime phase, where, as Steam alluded to in his introduction, you guys had Steam had been asked by Nyx to help Reymond, essentially serve Reymond as a bodyguard to make sure he's safe, because last game Reymond decided that he was going to take a devil's bargain, and the devil's bargain was that at some point there would be assassination attempts, plural, on his life. So
emphasis on plural there.
Well, what was funny is I said assassination attempts. Yeah. You then at some point later said, I heard plural when you were talking the 3 of you were talking about it last session, and I was just like, okay, you did pick up on that. Great. I'm glad to hear it. Let's move forward. So now, Reymond, you now have essentially a bodyguard in Steam who's going to basically watch your back. You still have 2 downtime actions though, and I think we were discussing the first step, the first downtime action, which was going to be a long-term project surrounding how you were going to approach winning the election of Alderman of Crowsfoot.
Yeah, so I had a discussion at the end of that episode with Nix, and he recommended I go and speak to a Lord Bowman, because he initially said about how it was a committee of, was it 11 people?
6.
Was it 6?
Okay, so yeah, let me refresh everybody
Okay.
on and off, either around the table and then on stream as well, with how the politics of Doskvol work from the city council. There is a governing city council that is separate from the imperial seat of government, which, there is a lord governor who is responsible for the region, not only the city proper, but the Deathlands around, dealing with commerce and everything coming in. So his responsibilities are on a macro level for the city and the area around. The city council handles the internal elements of the individual districts of Doskvol, and there are 6 city council members who are ultimately responsible for the decision making process. Representing the individual districts are 11 individual aldermen who step up to represent, do the things that they need to do to advocate for and get the needs met of the individual districts. That is the public facing story or facade of the politics of Doskvol when it comes to the city council.
Mm-hmm.
Privately, it's all driven by money, right? It's all, money influences power and power influences money, that kind of a thing. And so what we had discussed was that while you could explore you could set up an exploring committee of some kind to dig into the circumstances of what politics are. Nix had already done a lot of that, and Mike and I had a private conversation about the politics of, during the off season, about how they generally would work.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're coming into is really, I guess, is him telling, Nix telling you, well, this is the person that you should probably go talk to. And what was the reason for you telling him about that particular individual, Mike?
I don't think I told him, but that particular individual is from 6 Towers. Both families I mentioned are from 6 Towers.
That is correct.
So they're local to where we are.
So you didn't just tell me out of the goodness of your heart.
Well, I think. So what? But what do you? Okay, so then the question goes back to Slade as Reymond Bowerstone. Reymond Bowerstone, what are you doing? What are you doing to start this long-term project? What is the goal of this long-term project? And what is that first action essentially? So
the goal of the long-term project would be to meet with the majority of the people that are there. So since there was 11, I want to at least meet up with 6 different people, and it's going to start first with the Lord Bowman that he recommended.
Okay.
And essentially with meeting the majority there, that gives you the majority
There was 2.
vote as it were. I got one down. I remember there was a lady, but...
Yeah. Let me check my notes. Keep going. I'll find it for you.
Well, so okay, again, so you're meeting this Lord Bowman, who happens to be one of the families that still lives in
Lady
6 Towers.
Rowan.
Lady Rowan.
So Bowen and Lady Rowan is what you?
No, it's Rowan and Bowman. Something. I'll find out. But he's not right. He's close. I think he smashed them together, cleared away the blood.
Bowman is a common name according to it's a common family name.
No, I'll find it.
Okay, yeah. So Lady Rowan and then this Bowman character or whatever. So you're going to meet them though. Like I'm trying to get a feel of how this is going to play out.
Yeah. So essentially, he's going to send out an invitation. It would be, I think it'd be either, you can come to our place to meet up, or we can go to your place to meet up.
Right, but what are you trying to get from this? I mean, because
it's influence. It's influence. So
so you're trying to meet with noble families to gain influence, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and so the ultimate goal of the long-term project, though, what is the ultimate goal there?
So the ultimate goal would be to gain the influence of the majority of people, but so that he can get a seat among them.
The majority of the people. So are you trying to influence?
So the aldermans.
Oh, okay. So what you're going to do? Okay, I'm trying to clarify so that I understand. So you're going to try to gain influence among the noble families, in order to have them influence you with the aldermen's, so that it's easier for you to just basically take that seat.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because we know it's not going to be a fair campaign, because nothing is fair. So it's just I'm going to be on the forefront. It's going to be a campaign vote, but behind the scenes is where it's really going down.
So, yeah, absolutely. So as we talked about previously in last week, we talked a little bit about how there were probably going to be linked progress clocks in respect to how this is going to come to pass. So I think the first one, as it sounds like, is the first long-term project is that you're going to you're basically, we're going to call that, noble family influence or noble influence, and you'll do this by your first step is to engage this lady Rowan, and then from there that might lead to other things that can facilitate what it is that you're attempting to do with this progress clock. Yeah. So I'm going to call this progress clock a 6-segment clock, so that it's not too terribly complicated, because I suspect that this is actually going to go on for a fair bit of time.
Yeah, 6 people, 6 o'clock. Sounds good.
All right. Let me move some old clocks on the clock page. Get some new clocks going. Okay, and so you're going to send her an invitation. And to sitting down. Is this the kind of thing where you let's see, how do I want to phrase this? Are you going to want to engage with her? Are you going to want to engage with her in a way that are you going to want to dialogue with this? I'm trying to figure out how much you want to actually role play this.
Yeah, I mean,
I was trying to figure out the right way to say that, but it just wasn't coming out. So,
well, because the thing is, we could, with it being 6 people, that is essentially meaning 6 meetings. If we role play every single one of them for time reasons, you could go for a while.
Right, exactly. That's again why because this is a long. So this is the kind of thing where it also could become, and and one of the things that I'm interested in is that there's actually a couple of things related from a game perspective, from a meta perspective. There's actually 2 scores in mind that I have that are directly related to this. Okay, so you could shoot this as a social engagement from a score perspective. So if there's ever a moment where you want to do that as a part of the long-term project, then say so, or let's engage with it that way. Because otherwise, what I'm going to do is I think that you're just going to roll what you need to roll to start the project, and then we can provide information and have a little conversation about it. But if there's ever a moment where it feels like this is an opportunity to really get into it, we can explore it more as like a score kind of a thing. So
we definitely can do it as a score, because essentially with that we've got 6 social score opportunities, and but I'll leave that up to the rest of the team, because they can all be part of this, because I'm not just one man. So what do you guys think? Do you want to use tonight's thing as a score? Or do you have something else in mind?
I don't know. I have no idea. That seems like the best lead we have so far.
What about you, OC?
Well, okay. So let me preface this for you guys, just so while you're having this conversation, for some context. The 2 explosions just happened. The gala just happened. The Rooks are definitely going to want to talk to you. There's a contact from the Red Sashes that are also going to want to talk to you. So I wouldn't commit to making it a score until you get to free play and you get all that information.
And my girls as well.
And your girls as well. And there's also another element that I'm throwing into the mix tonight to start kind of like providing more context for both you and the Shroud, or both you and Phantom, and then the subsequent next week when the 3rd crew comes into play. So just think about in the context. And Reymond, you don't have to make this necessarily decision right now. You can just start this process. Maybe the process is you get some information about the meeting, and that's the first step in the progress clock.
Yeah, we'll do that. So if I can get the Rooks to send out or even hand deliver an invitation,
Okay.
As representatives of Reymond Bowerstone.
Okay.
And we'll wait for their response. If they're more than willing to, if they're a little hesitant on it. And then we'll know how to approach the situation a little bit better than just going into it.
Excellent. So, how are you going to do that? Because, and this is where the role comes into to play. You know, what type of role or what type of action you're gonna go through. If you're using the rooks, is that is like a command?
I was going to go for a sway, only for the basis of it's the letter that's going to mostly be doing the talking.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, give me the highlights of what that letter is going to sound like. And again, the table can help you, and then you can make the roll, and we can see how it's received.
Yeah. So, Lord Reymond Bowerstone. If you can hear that, that's Doskvol outside with a fucking weed whacker. Okay, so Lord Reymond Bowerstone would, specific words, humbly ask that you attend a gathering. Meal, food, drinks, and pleasure are all provided. Yourself and fucking mother. At a date 2 days away.
Okay.
So yeah, just highlighting personal invitation, everything is provided for, and it would be greatly appreciated if you would attend.
All right, so let's go ahead and roll it. And remember, so there's no position, there's no effect. Yep. Really, what it comes down to is just you rolling your sway plus any additional die that you want to add to that.
No, so just the base 3.
So you're gonna just take. Okay, excellent. Very nice.
Yeah.
It is so well received that the invitation is sent. There's an immediate response. The letter you receive back is incredibly flattering. References to knowing your parents through the social circle, and how much your parents were liked by the Rowan family, and that it would be their pleasure to attend in any such gathering that you're setting up.
Oh, brilliant.
On top of that, you receive an invitation. Mike, did you find the name for that other particular person that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's Rowan and Bowmore are the two names.
Bowmore. So you receive a request for a meeting as well from Bowmore, based on, and the letter references the opportunity, the letter references your conversation, your exchange with Lady Rowan. This comes a little bit after, essentially. And so with that, on the progress clock, you actually advanced, I believe, 4 times is what a crit is. Let me double check that just real quick. Downtime.
My diplomacy is good in the physical form on paper, not when it comes out of my mouth.
I'm sorry, it is 5 times. So you have already done a significant amount of work in this particular case. So here's the thing about this. At this point, this is almost a foregone conclusion that you're going to gain this influence, unless something comes up.
Yeah.
So under the circumstances, the next time you either choose to interact with this, treat it as a score, or what have you, we'll call it a fortune roll to determine the final result, but it's looking very good for you right now.
Sweet.
Okay, excellent. All right, so that is your first downtime activity. What would you like to do with your second one?
For my second one, I think I wish to train. And I actually wish to train in skirmish game.
Okay.
So, back in the what do we call it again? The BBC.
The BBC. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I'll be down there, even during the commotion that was going on through the night down there training.
Well, so you're not technically close to there right now, but I'm just going to assume that. Remember, the context is that
once you're in downtime,
you're going to have the ability to get there eventually and be able to do that. So just go ahead and take that. Yeah, take that XP point just with the assumption that you're doing that training.
Cool.
Okay, so that's 2 downtime actions. Do you want to spend some coin or rep and get a third?
No, that will do it for me. I'll move it on to the next person.
Okay, who's up?
OC?
Okay, I am going to... Yeah, take those. I want to start a flashback of a long-term project.
Okay.
It's something that happened in the past, but I'm going to do the projects now.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what that long-term project is.
The Arabian Sword School.
Right, correct. So the Arabian Sword School is the front for the Red Sashes. Does not mean that you couldn't get the training. It's just adding that as a context to what it is that you're trying to do. And so you're basically looking to train as an Arabian swordsman or swordsperson?
In the past, yeah.
Right, correct.
So that I already have the training now and then, maybe not affiliated at all.
Right, totally. Absolutely.
I just had the training. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we're going to...
Okay.
Go ahead.
My understanding was it would be 3 projects. 1 to become a student, 1 to train as an adept, and 1 to get my mastery.
Okay. You're looking at that from the reference in the advanced section of the book, though? Is it Changing the Game, and it's called Advanced Abilities and Permissions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the way it reads in the book is like you have to earn your way to be able to take a class, right? And then once you take the class, you use a playbook advancement to gain
adept and then mastery.
And then you have to work your way from adept to master, and that's like another playbook, and that's another clock. And then you can take a full level and use that to get master. So you have to
it's two playbook advancements.
Yeah, so you have to get to the school, train to be an adept, get your advancement, train to be a master, get your advancement. There's no enrollment process. You have to prove you're worthy.
Right, absolutely, and I suspect that's going to happen. So how does this play out? So from a mechanical perspective, how does this play out in the game, though? Like where you are currently, are you expecting to be an Arabian Swordmaster right now? Yes. Okay. And so what you're going to do?
She's never had to use it. She's never really been in combat. So
no. I get that. I'm looking at how to do this in a way that allows you to take advantage of that while still still having the progress represented in the background. So I think to me, what it sounds like the best way to do this is, in my head, it sounds like at least one of your downtime actions for each downtime needs to be spent doing this in order for you to be able to take advantage of that circumstance. Mm-hmm. And so that will be going on in the background every time downtime happens. And so you're essentially going to be limited to 1 free downtime activity.
Unless I want to take stressor coin. Yep.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. So, all right. Absolutely. That to me sounds like it's perfect. So the first one is going to be, you said it was going to be a 6.
I didn't say a number.
It doesn't look like
to become a student. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so to become a student, we'll call it a 4-segment progress clock, because the way that Mike just described it, and the way that you just described it, and the way that I'm looking at it in the book, it looks like you have to if you take a playbook advancement, then you are in complete control of that circumstance, or when that actually happens, because of the amount of XP that you earn for the playbook and that kind of a thing. Typically, because you're using it now, and it's going to be a mastery of the thing of the past, okay. Well, so this is where it gets. Let me take a step back for a second. So there's going to be 1 segment, or there's going to be 1 4-position or 4-segment progress clock that will represent your initial, desire to be a swordsperson, swordsman, whatever. Then you're going to need to take 2 playbook advancements in order to get the adept and then the mastery. So instead of it being a situation where you take three long-term projects, you're just going to do one long-term project, and then you're just going to spend the XP for the playbook and go through two XP advancements. And so that's where the limiting factor is going to be for you. That's where the pain point's going to be. You're not going to be able to do anything else playbook.
So if I finish the clock, then it's just whenever I finish those 2 playbooks, then I can use it.
Yeah, you can. We're going to just consider you a master right now. You're just going to be required to spend your XP in the XP playbook to get through 2 advancements.
Okay, I'm 1 away from the first one, which is why I want to start this now. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So essentially what you'll do is you'll get through the progress of this 4-segment clock. Then you'll spend that first playbook advancement on adapts, and then I have
another one until mastery. Yep.
Right, and then you'll just you'll just work to mastery, and you can't take another special ability until you get to mastery, and that'll be that'll be just the mechanic that gets you there. So you'll be limited to what you can do to your playbook until that, and that's the way we'll work it mechanically speaking. So excellent. Okay, so since it's a 4-element progress clock, how are you going to earn your right to study to be an Eruvian swordsman?
Without giving too much away for future things, I guess when I first came here, it would just be a survival aspect.
Okay.
And not having that self-control and coming from a background where I wasn't like a respectable person. I mean, I run brothels now, but at least they're legitimate. But coming from a background where I wasn't, I was like an urchin almost, I guess, in a way.
Okay.
And so it was more of like, I'm scrappy and I'm whatever, teach me and I'll.
You're young, scrappy, and hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a survival thing. You're on. So basically, you were an orphan on the streets of Crowsfoot, or what district were you? Or okay, now I see where I see.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay. All right. So
later.
All right. You and I should have a little bit more of a conversation about that.
That's going to come up soon, so it's not too much.
Yeah.
Further.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So
do you want me to roll for getting into the school or for the clock or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious what the skill that you're going to, or the action that you're going to use to roll that.
I would say skirmish, because it's using my abilities to that I already have to kind of.
Right. So, okay. So, essentially, as an urchin on the street, you usually were how you earned your way in was you were pretty victorious, or you were pretty aggressive in your skills as a fighter. Then.
Yes, in a way.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Then
or
go
I
ahead.
could use one of my clocks, one of my things that doesn't have any points in it. Because back then I would have, or one of my lower ones, like finesse, which only has 1 tick mark. I could use that.
No. I think using skirmish is perfectly fine. I was looking for a narrative explanation of it. That's all.
Yeah, that's gonna come later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just looking for a way to describe it where it's not too vague.
I'm a badass.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you want to do is you want to crit here as well.
So what do I do? Just leave it as risky, leave it as whatever it is?
Yeah, there's no position, there's no effect. You are more than welcome to add dice though. You can take some stress now to add dice to that particular point, or you can take a devil's bargain. It's entirely up to you.
I'm going to take 2 stress for an extra die.
You got it. Okay. So that is 2 segments progressed on the clock, and so you would have gained the attention of them at that point, and they're starting to take an interest in you. Somebody who has that skill, where you grew up in childhood. So you've garnered interest. Do you want to use your second downtime activity to finish that, basically?
Yep.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and roll that again? And same exact situation. And if you want to take 2 more stress, there you go. 6
Damn
works.
it, why didn't I get that first?
What you wanted is you wanted Slade's, crit, essentially. Okay, so kicking ass, taking names on the street, surviving, establishing yourself, showing some semblance of honor or street moral code, that kind of a thing, gains you the attention of an Eruvian swordsman where you grew up. Immediately from that, they take you under their wing and realize that you are quite a skilled fighter and you might be of use to them. And so that starts the process. And so when you do the playbook advancement and you go to Adept, I'm going to have you describe to me what happens between you becoming an apprentice, essentially, and you becoming an Adept, right? So what happens, like you can talk about, well, I was told to do this or I was told to do that. I'm just looking for you to establish just a tiny bit of OC's narrative going from being a street waif to an Adept as an Eruvian swordsperson or swordsman.
Okay.
Cool. All right, excellent. So that's 2 downtime actions. Great job. Do you want to take a third?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Who's up next?
I think that leaves me as last.
Did Steam go last time?
Steam went first.
I did. Yeah, I reduced heat and then I reduced my stress. I did want to. I forgot. I'm going to sneak in here real quick. I didn't realize that I could spend coin, get an extra one, and do the training. Can I go ahead and do that?
You are more than welcome to do that. I thought I mentioned that to you, but you can totally do that. You're absolutely welcome to.
I was so out of it last week. I'm sure you did. So
yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. So just spend that coin. Go ahead and do that extra training, and we're on to Nyx.
Sweet. So has Nyx heard from his networks?
It's free play now.
No, it's not. It's still in downtime. So, let me look at my notes of what's being conveyed.
I mean, if he hasn't, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to place where we are in the timeline.
So in the timeline, it's definitely after the events of that night. So folks would have gotten back, or there would have been information conveyed to you. I'm okay with conveying that and giving you an opportunity to. I'm not sure how many long-term projects are going to come out of it necessarily, which is I think the only place where it might make a difference. But that's entirely up to you. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to fill you in on the information that the Rook Network has for you. And then I'm also going to fill you in on what your essentially your cohort from the Red Sashes also has for you.
Gotcha.
And we're going to start with we're going to start with Needle, who is your cohort contact in the Red Sashes. And this is directly about the events that of something that he took part of. Murden Gull hired him. His charge, by the name of what was it? What was his charge's name? I can't remember right now. Whatever Spee's character was in the one shot, and another individual to break into and steal information from someone by the name of Beverly Chandler. Beverly Chandler,
Marique.
Yeah, Marique.
And Mr. Wolf, right?
And Mr. Wolf.
Okay.
I wasn't giving you the name of Mr. Wolf specifically, though.
Oh, okay. So what did you say?
And one other individual.
Okay.
He would have given you Marique because that was his charge, right? Mr. Wolf didn't have, at least based on the way that you interacted with everybody, Marique seemed to be the person that you were interacting with, and so that was the important person to your character at that point. So, if you ask Needle, I would more than believe that he would give you that information again because you have such a fantastic relationship with him, and you tend to feel
he would have asked who this individual is,
right? And so he would have told you Mr. Wolf as well. would be looking to take whatever information could be obtained from Beverly Chandler and sell it. Needle tells you that Beverly Chandler is a professor at Charter Hall University, and that she works with the Sparkrights, and that they were asked to break into her home because that's where her primary lab was for research. And Needle, in his own way, really doesn't care about the specifics of the science of it or anything else. So he would have just kind of hand waved those aspects. He also would have mentioned that Beverly Chandler was working with Nicholas Penderin, and the reason that name was relevant is because they spent so much time at Charter Hall trying to figure out more information about him and his connection to Beverly Chandler. He would have mentioned that the crew had stolen a number of items from Beverly Chandler's lab. He would then hand over some of those documents to you. He's, basically telling you what it is that that he wasn't able to grab everything, but this is what he was able to kind of pocket and pass off to the side. And again, if I remember correctly from it was essentially something to reference a dirigible. There was also some references to, I believe, the engine, the Sparkrite engine, essentially, and some sort of automated or goatless carriage.
Okay.
He would have also talked about the fact that there was a book that was somewhat important to Merrick, and that it was a point of contention at the end of the score to Martin or whatever his name is, Martin Gull, the proprietor of the Leaky Bucket, or the Leaky Bucket in Crow's Foot, and that it seemed like Gull was really interested in getting that back because he felt that had the most value of any of the things that they brought back.
Does he know where the book went?
Merrick was supposed to bring it back, and again, it would be up to how well Needle knew Merrick as his charge in working for the Red Sashes, as to whether he actually believed that Merrick would ever actually bring it back.
Okay, so it was a dirigible, Sparkcraft carriage, and an engine? What was the engine called?
It was essentially a Sparkrite engine, an efficient Sparkrite engine.
Cool.
Let's see.
Does he know the name of the book?
No, he does not know the name of the book, but he did happen to make reference that I think it was one of them, Merrick or Wolf, got really weird when they entered the ghost field looking at him. It was obvious to him that there was something off about it. And since Needle is the first person who picked up the book, he would be able to describe it to Nyx in detail. So Nyx would definitely recognize it as something that he would be interested in.
Okay. Cool.
So, along with that, you also get some information from the Rook Network.
Nyx gives him a coin.
Okay, excellent. So the Rook Network brings you the following bits of information. Prior to the night of the two explosions, and just stepping back metagame-wise, guys, if you guys can come up with a really awesome way to describe that night of two explosions, some sort of beautiful, eloquent, very literary kind of description or whatever, some sort of nickname, I would love it, because I've been trying to think of a good name and I haven't. So just put that in your heads if you guys think about it. And the same goes to Phantom, guys. So prior to the events of the two explosions,
It's the long night.
the long night, but the night is always long and full of terrors.
Yeah.
Derp.
Yep. But this night was long. Like, a lot of shit went on.
Sure.
That was a long night.
Night of the False Dawn.
Supernova? Or Nova?
God, Slade, you're fired. You were absolutely fired. So prior to the event,
Double Bang? Sorry.
Right. Ready? Chat, if you guys can think of a great name, tweet at me, hashtag 6and20, hashtag Shroud will rise on Twitter, and we'll get that going.
I like
Also,
Supernova.
Low Flying Hawk, thank you for that donation of $3.62. That's a strange number. I assume that's a foreign denomination coming in awkwardly through PayPal. And thank you. If you look down if you type in !bit.d in the chat, you'll see all the cool Blades in the Dark donations you guys can donate for, and that goes for everyone else as well.
Doesn't it donate in US dollars?
It's supposed to, but if you change it from US dollars to what I assume, but that conversion rate to Australian monies or New Zealand dollars, it comes
Same
in
thing.
all wonky.
I accept all kinds of money. I will happily take it all.
Shut up, Chi boy.
I can't
Somebody
wait to
clip
move
that.
out of this city. I can't wait to move out of this damn
You'll always
city.
be Chi boy to me.
You're about to own the
To
city.
the
You
night
can't
of two
leave.
explosions.
No, leave Christchurch because the abbreviation for it is Chi-Chi. So that's where my nickname comes from. Chi-Chi boy.
How's your deck going? Anyway, so prior to the night of the two explosions, the Rooks let you know that Donovan's caught fire. Prior to it catching fire, there was a large number of bluecoats that were seen entering the actual premise in an aggressive manner. Those bluecoats were actually hailing originally from Six Towers. At the end, after what sound was a number of sounds of violence and the fire starting inside of Donovan's, the occupants were seen leaving out the back in an armored carriage in a gunfight with other bluecoats that were stationed out back. The bluecoats that went into the building, though, did not make it out of the fire.
Interesting.
Also, under martial law, the city has been basically shut down to the circumstances of, most commerce, and so there's the movement is restricted. Crow's Foot is essentially, it's really hard for the Rooks to get into right now. But from what they can tell in their limited movement around the city, it looks like Imperial Army officers or Imperial Army squads headed by an officer are starting to get posted all around the lightning barrier at the lightning towers, the junctions between, the various points that are actually generating the energy of the lightning tower. So there appears to be a little bit of militarization of what the Spark Rights are doing right now.
And that's in where? In Crowsfoot?
All over.
Okay, it's all over.
That's at the
around the whole lightning barrier.
Right. So the Rooks can't. The Rooks have not been able to successfully get into Crow's Foot because it's as a part of the lockdown. They're because of the chaos that's going on there, and that being where one of the explosions are. They're assuming that they can't actually, for the reason that they can't seem to get in any way into Crow's Foot for to kind of feel out information for you, because I assume that you're going to want to know what's going on in Crow's Foot after the explosion. There's not a lot going on there, right? The only person that's really been able to get into there in that area has been Needle.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess so. Nix gives him a coin, Needle a coin, and says if he can remember anything else from that night, that would be important to let him know.
Okay.
And then he lets him go, and then he meets with the Rooks, and that's it. He just meets.
Okay.
With them. They don't get coins. They're just poor people.
Well, you're already taking care of them in another way, right? I mean, you're basically, yeah.
They're cool guys. They got it. They know what's up.
All right. So.
Man, did our demon friend come back?
No.
Because he went for a walk.
He did go for a walk.
Yeah. All right. So he didn't come back yet.
No.
Man, I have a lot to ponder with this whole situation. I have 3 downtime actions.
Which is why I didn't want to overwhelm you before you took downtime.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to train in Resolve, first of all.
Okay.
That's one of them. I am going to do my Vice. How am I going to do my Vice? How am I going to do my vice. You
can find Goat Dude and fuck him up.
You say goat dude? Like Jinx goat?
Albino Goat Dude.
Oh,
sorry.
albino goat.
I should be more specific with all the goats roaming the city.
His new code name is the Maestro.
I don't like that.
The Maestro?
Yeah, because he's a conductor, and a better word for conductor is Maestro.
The weird thing was, literally the day after, I think it was like the Defenders came out, and like there's a protagonist in there, like the white man in the white suit. It's
he wasn't wearing white for that long. I mean, it was like an episode or two. It wasn't a great reference. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah, look at me. I am. For fuck's sake.
I'm gonna mute Slade real quick. So he is going to he's going to talk to Jaren, his blue coat contact, and see if there's any. He's going to take a page out of Bowerbaum's notebook and see if there's any particular areas of town where someone needs a good beating to set them straight, because he has some frustrations to vent out, namely whatever's happening with this Maestro and this demon monstrosity that just sort of knows a lot more than him and walked away. So yeah, he's going to reach out to Jared and see if there's any, low-hanging fruit in and around Six Towers or Night Market to fuck them up. And I'm going to give you a vice roll as soon as I remember where the hell vice roll is.
Okay.
There it is. Found it. Bonus dice 0, I assume.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Okay.
I relieve 2 stress.
Interesting that you chose to do that when there was a possibility of you actually overindulging.
There wasn't. So I have the ability functioning vice. When you indulge your vice, you may adjust the outcome by 1 or 2, up or down. So I planned for that. I accounted for it.
Okay.
And then my last downtime action.
Hold on.
Oh.
Let's talk about your vice. Your vice is when people indulge vice, I want them to at least express a little bit that experience, because you guys all have picked some really interesting vice. In this particular case, there is a particular individual who attacks children and likes to beat up children in Six Towers, and he's taking advantage of roaming the streets at night. And you get the impression that this is probably this guy's vice. Like if there's somebody out there who's indulging in this type of activity, it's clearly something that drives them in a relief sense. So you get reference to this particular individual. Your buddy points you in the right direction, and you come face to face with this guy as he is starting to tear into essentially a young boy of about 9 years old. How do you indulge your vice?
So what is he doing? Is he attacking this child?
He is beating this child.
Okay.
He is physically abusive to these children. It is not a sexual thing. It is just he is physically taking out his aggression on children. He's basically being
cool. So so Nyx has a unique weapon. He has a hook, and he takes the hook and he spins it backwards so that the bulbous end is out, and he just cracks this guy over the head with him, so that he kind of like slumps forward, and then he rolls him away from the child. He picks the child up and sits him down and says, "Now, young man, you will wait here for just a moment. He will get his due." And he kind of sits the kid in a perfect location where he can watch this happen. And then he, again, with the bulbous end out, he rolls this man over and just begins working him with the round end of the hook, just in his face, in his like collarbone, like just basically the upper torso. He just keeps racking into him with the round end of that hook. The entire time he's doing it, he's looking at the boy and just cracking this guy over the face. And then when the guy is nice and bloody, he sort of wipes off his hook on his jacket, on the man's jacket, hangs it up where it goes. He says, "Now then, you run along. There are a few men in Six Towers. They know me. They will assist you, and you will work for me now." Scurry. And he sends them to find the Rook Network.
Does Steam watch this?
Yep.
Wait, hold on. I got to clarify this. If Steam is watching Nyx, who's watching Reymond Bowerstone?
Me.
I can watch after myself. That is an option. I'm not a toddler.
You were a superhero and you were a toddler. Let's just put that out there.
Who had a costume?
I have lots of money. Daddy's really rich.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so in response to that, I'm a little speechless in that you thought that it was okay to do it in front of the child. Nyx thought it was okay to do it in front of the
He
child.
didn't think it was okay. Made him watch.
All right. Anyways, great, awesome.
Yeah.
It's
a clear message. Crime doesn't happen on my turf unless it goes through me. This didn't. I saved you. Now you work for me. It's a whole,
sure, but there's a level of brutality there in you basically killing somebody in front of a child who was just abused.
He just beat him very, very badly.
Okay, all right.
But it's a warning that if you fuck up, that's what happens to you. You know,
okay.
Ingrained.
So you're abusing the victim, is what you're saying.
I mean,
yes, that's exactly.
I just want a clarification.
Mentally scarring the victim.
That's exactly what I was going for, Jens. That was exactly what I was going for. The level of brutality just is being transferred from one individual to another. It's not a saving aspect. There's not
physical and emotional abuse now. Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Excellent second downtime action. What are you doing with your third?
That was my third. Oh shit! No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. That was your second.
You asked me questions and I get distracted and thought that was my third. Man, let me look at the book, see what the hell downtime actions I can do.
Train.
I did train. I am... How hard is it to get into Crow's Foot?
It is incredibly difficult right now. It is, if you attempt to make your way into Crow's Foot, there's essentially an Imperial garrison at all bridges leading in, and they're stopping people, and verifying if they have any business. You could attempt to use a gondolier to get in and see if that makes a difference, but that's almost more score level of an infiltration versus it being something relatively simple to do.
Okay. Cool.
What are you attempting to do though?
My thought was originally to get an asset in Crow's Foot, but it doesn't seem like that's likely to happen.
Well, if I may make a suggestion, you
Sure.
could try to make an asset out of one of the Imperial Army regulars, or even an officer of some kind.
Man.
And I can think of some really interesting uses for that asset once that asset becomes a cohort against against Phantom. But that's just me.
Man, me too. But the problem is, how do I make him an asset?
Come on, you're Nyx.
I assume it's a long-term project to acquire him as an asset, right? It would be a long-term project to acquire him as a cohort from an asset.
It would be a long-term project to acquire him as a cohort, but as an asset, he would be there for you until you use him, or you can basically just acquire him as an asset and then start the long-term project on your next downtime. Okay,
perfect. Cool. So I go to one of the bridges that connects Six Towers to Crow's Foot.
Okay.
And by this time, go ahead.
There isn't a bridge that actually does that. The closest would be from Charter Hall to Crow's Foot.
Right. So whichever the closest bridge is, whichever the closest little garrison is, he goes to that.
Okay.
And I've had time to go to one of my favorite purveyors in the city, Dundridge and Sons, who provides fine quality clothing for a modest price. And I procure.
Have you taken Reymond there yet?
No.
Shut up.
He doesn't deserve to go there. So I procure.
I love how you.
I procure the garments of someone who looks like they're in politics. Someone who looks like they're like low-level ministry worker. Because I am taking my fine cover identity and using that to be Lord Reymond Bowerstone's assistant, which I cannot think of a name right now, but I will get back to you on. Lord Reymond Bowerstone's assistant for his campaign, and I have a set of documents that prove that, falsified documents that prove that. And essentially, I'm walking up to these guys, very, very matter of fact. Excuse me, I have business here in Crowsfoot. I'm not sure if you're aware of what's happening, but one Lord Reymond Bowerstone, and then he like waits like that's a name you should know, is running for alderman of this town. And I understand that there was an explosion recently, devastating, quite terrifying really. Several people were murdered, I understand. I know that you great fine men of the Empire, you're standing guard and protecting the regular citizenry, but I am here on behalf of Lord Reymond Bowerstone, future alderman of this lovely Crowsfoot, and I'm here just to get some information. What is your name?
Who are you attempting to do this with? Are you attempting to do this with one of the soldiers?
Yeah.
Essentially, essentially somebody who is like, a grunt.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me just 1 second to pull a name out of my ass.
Sure.
Because you decide to do that to me again.
Dave.
Clive.
You mean Clav? You mean? We're gonna call this one. He calls himself Harris.
Harris.
Harris Stillman.
Harris Stillman.
Yes.
Not Mr. Tillman.
Harris Stillman.
Cool.
You have me pull names out of my ass. I'm gonna pull names.
So he says, cadet or whatever rank it is, Sergeant Stillman. Yes, you will look like a fine, upstanding gentleman in the what is it? Undying Emperor? What? Immortal. The Immortal Emperor's army. Now, could you let me through quickly? I don't want you to break any protocol. If you can't let me through, could you perhaps give me just the slightest information? I can come to you and then you can relay what you've seen inside there. We're trying to build a campaign. I hear the previous alderman was killed and might have been working for the Red Sashes. Vile criminals. Vile criminals. Not Lord Bowerstone. He is a nobleman from a noble house.
Harris looks at you and looks around at the others because of the way they're stationed. So let me set up the scene a little bit. So the way that the bridge is set up is that any entryway between districts over the canals, the larger aspects of the canals, happens to be a relatively wide bridge, enough for 2 or 3 carriages, to go across side by side. So in this particular case, when you approach, you're approaching from the Charter Hall side, and that's where the garrison is, the primary stopping point. They're using the bridges as staging areas for conversation. If somebody's bringing a carriage in and there's a need to kind of check the person's credentials or, validate something, they bring them onto the bridge, and that's kind of like the holding space. It's the perfect place to kind of, close people off. And so when OC and Bowerstone were actually attempting to cross into Crowsfoot from Charter Hall, they were turned away before they got onto the bridge. So at that front, there is probably a good 3 to 4 who are doing the actual stopping. So when they're distracted, with somebody, talking to somebody, if they can disengage themselves and address somebody else, or basically pull back, they'll usually allow one person to just kind of engage. And the grunts, the soldiers, the foot soldier level, they're not incredibly well educated, but they do, they can read and write. They can, but there's some level of, they're not all necessarily officer material, but this one kind of strikes you as being a little bit sharper than the rest. And Stillman, while is not a noble family name, definitely is a name that you've heard around Doskvol as skilled labor, that kind of a thing. People who maybe it was actually, his name comes from being, somebody who distills or that kind of a thing, like a family of distillers and that kind of a thing for alcohol. But So as you engage him and you ask him that question, he kind of perks up and responds, and he's like, I can't allow you in. There's no information I can provide for you. You can come back when I heard the announcement. I read the announcement in the Imperial Times. I saw that Reymond Bowerstone is going to do something, about the situation in Crowsfoot. So I'd like to help. And there's a number of soldiers here. There's a number of us in this garrison right here that would love to be able to provide support, but I can't do it right now. We're currently under inspection. But he goes on and he explains the situation. He says that right now the Imperial Army is actually experiencing, essentially being examined for the type of work that they're doing around the city in the martial art situation, and that the Crowsfoot is under special lockdown for a number of circumstances. The explosion being, one of them, the lack of aldermen being another, the conflict that's been going on prior to. So Crowsfoot is really just kind of, is an extra special case in this whole lockdown. So what I'm going to need from you now to determine the final result of this is I'm going to need you to roll for this asset.
Okay. Cool. I will give you some sway.
Okay. That sounds like a good thing.
So what's the position?
So again, no position, no effect.
Okay.
It's just how many dice you actually roll.
Cool. So I have, let's see here. What are my stats? So I have a fine cover identity, which I think gives you +2 dice.
It does.
Okay. And then I also have documents that prove that I work for Mr. Reymond Bowerstone. That gives me +1 dice.
Okay.
That's a total of +3 there. That's all I got. That's all I can think of. Unless you're counting the role play of getting a new outfit to look like a mage.
No, I mean that's as much as that plays in as much to your who you are and setting up your cover identity as it does So it really is
cool
on you.
Okay, and I'm gonna push myself. I'll take 2 stress from that. And I'll make
You sure you don't want a
4
devil's
dice.
bargain?
I'm sure. 4.
So I believe that puts him at your tier level.
Something like that.
If I remember how that works correctly. Every time we do this, I look at this and I can't quite. So acquiring an asset.
4 to 5
it's at your tier. It's at your tier level, and then okay, it's only on crit that you can actually raise his tier level. That's interesting. Okay,
no,
all right,
6 is tier +1. Crit is a tier +2.
No, you can only spend coin though, according to this. So the rule says critical. You can spend coin to raise the result beyond the critical by spending 2 coin per tier level, and it be added. So right. So he's a tier 2. Right, you guys are tier 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's a tier 2 asset at this point. And now, given the circumstance, you'll be able to, from a mechanical perspective, you'll be able to take a long-term project and develop him into a cohort if that's what you want to do.
Cool.
So as he's kind of conveying, you guys are having this conversation going back, and he expresses that he's interested in helping, but he can't really help right now. He says he mentions to you that he is usually on here during essentially what is considered the morning shift, essentially the first 8 hours of the day, so hour 1 to hour 8. Basically from morning till early, or essentially middle of afternoon. So come back and he will be happy to answer your questions, because there are a number of people who are at the foot soldier level that are really interested in supporting Mr. Bowerstone, in his attempts to set things right, and there's a little bit of a passion and just a little bit of drive behind that, as he says, that youthful idealism, that politics actually is legitimate, and that that politicians can make a difference, kind of a thing.
Sweet. And I'm going to exploit the shit out of it.
Okay. Cool. So that establishes that, and with that, you are done with your free 3 scores.
Yeah. So it behooves me to tell you. So previously, when we did the Leviathan blood heist and we successfully finished it,
Yes.
We forewent reward in exchange for the Lamp Blacks giving us turf and the Hive giving us turf.
That's correct.
Those turfs are informants and a tavern. I assume the informants are in Crowsfoot. That's one of the Lamp Blacks gave us, and the tavern is in Night Market.
The tavern is in Night Market, and okay. So,
does everyone agree to that? Does that make sense? Or do we want the?
Yeah,
Do we want the tavern and Night Market?
Well, one has to be in one or the other, because one's from each of them. So we get either the tavern is in Crowsfoot and we can't get to it, or the tavern is in Night Market, we can get to it, or the informants.
Yeah, but that's temporary though. I'm
Right.
trying to think long term.
Yeah.
If it makes more sense with everything that's about to happen. If we own something in Crowsfoot, then we have like we were just going to the tavern we own. That's just an idea. I don't have
I can dig it.
It's just nice to have a fallback of
Yeah, so tavern in
okay,
Crowsfoot.
so a tavern in Crowsfoot, and then informants in Night Market.
Yeah.
Also, the Crows, we told them that we owned. I mean, it was the one chick who, the leader who's dead. But we did tell them that we worked for Donovan's, a bar, and we were transporting stuff. Now we could say we bought territory there, so it kind of fits with our story more.
Yeah. Well,
Donovan's got blown up, so now we have a place here. If they ever ask, then we can.
Yeah. That and we killed her. So
Fuck
that lady.
No, we didn't.
Fuck that lady.
You did kill her. She was dead. Okay, so just for a point of reference, while the Hive is definitely related to, very directly a set of legitimate merchants that are doing a great deal of contraband, Night Market is a place where the majority of them, or the majority of the, essentially the public members of the Hive would be spending their time. However, their influence is larger than Night Market. It's not just that they control that section, it's that their influence, they're a tier 4, so they have a greater deal of influence. So just as a reference, Crowsfoot might be one of those places where their influence is contested, especially given the circumstances where what was her name? Djera. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that.
Dejura?
Anyways, the leader of the Hive, the leader of the true organization that is the Hive, had conflict with Lysa of the Crows, specifically because Lysa supposedly killed Dejra's or whatever's lover, who was the previous leader of the Crows. So that in Crowsfoot there would be it would be contested a little bit. But anyways, that's just meta. That's a little bit in reference to who where you get this tavern or what's going on. So if you guys want to own a tavern in Crowsfoot, and that was your turf, okay, so that would have given you a legitimate reason prior to you telling me just now for you to gain entrance into.
That's fine.
So just as a future reference, what I'd like you guys to do is give me some details about that tavern, and we can talk about it the first time you decide to go there, or you decide to visit that turf, or you decide to reference it again. So just kind of figure out the details of that circumstance of what that piece is, and then we can talk about it. So can you talk a little bit about, real quickly, what the two benefits of those turfs are? Because there are benefits, there are mechanical benefits that go along with that.
So first of all, chat, we need a name for our tavern, so spit those out, please. And second of all, the informants give us +1 dice when we gather information for scores, and the tavern gives us +1 dice to consort and sway while on site.
Excellent.
So specifically on site.
On site to the tavern.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, let me make sure I note that. All right, guys, you now are in free play. Since Nyx is not going to take any further downtime action.
Nope.
Last chance for anybody else to spend some coin or some rep to take one last downtime action. I think that applies all to Steam except Steam.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So, circumstances of the world post the night of two explosions. The long night. The night is full of terrors. So, in addition to the information that the Rook Network provides and Yield provides, a new edition of something called the Imperial Times comes out. Everybody knows the Imperial Times. It's a weekly newspaper that is published around the Imperium. In all of the major Imperial cities, you can pick up a copy of the Imperial Times. And the circumstances are that the news is typically kind of just, usually at most a week behind. And so if you're looking for information about your local city, in this particular case, Doskvol, that's the kind of thing that you would expect. Headlines that catch your eye. 2 explosions in one night in Doskvol, goes into details about how the explosion in Crowsfoot seemed really unusual, and that there was a level of criminal element going on there. And just as Bluecoats were coming onto the scene and the inspectors were about to make their attempts, there was a larger explosion at a tower, one of the lightning towers, thus, causing a citywide panic and fearing for everybody's life. The Doskvol section, because there's a section for each city as you're kind of flipping through, mentions 2 things. First, the city is under martial law, Doskvol is under martial law, and that Crowsfoot is under complete lockdown. What martial law means is that the Imperial Army has moved onto the streets and is currently doing various types of law enforcement operations to enforce anything that the Bluecoats need to do, and in helping move supplies and elements to, helping the Ministry of Preservation to move supplies necessary to keep things, situated. There's a slight mention of that there's going to be an increased presence working with the Sparkrights, but you already knew that from the Rooks. Reymond Bowerstone is the other headline that catches your eye in Doskvol. And it basically talks about his announcement to be running for the office of, alderman in Crowsfoot. Not much is known about Mr. Bowerstone prior to this announcement, and they call it a developing story.
What was the second one? I'm sorry.
And you're fired.
Okay.
It was city is under martial law.
Okay.
All right. So, essentially, the city's essentially in martial law. There are plans within plans that are starting to hatch for you guys. Where do you want to begin? Where do you want to move from here?
All right, so I'm guessing I'll still be in OC's establishment reading the newspaper. That's quite good. Seems I've been written up about. Things are going well.
Is OC in the room? Are you talking to her? Are you just talking to yourself in your...
No,
you're just like, I'm going to be in my bunk. And you're just reading newspaper articles about yourself.
Gross.
Have you ever been in a newspaper before?
I'm sure she's been on several newspapers, if you catch my drift.
I'm not meaning advertising. I mean, truly doing something splendid.
I wasn't either. A bed can be anything, my dear.
Mr. Bowerstone, you've poured yourself out for this city more than I have.
No one is disputing that claim.
6 and 20 The Shroud, Season 2. Shit on Bowerstone.
How fared your establishment?
Hey, is it an improvement over being the bottom?
Yeah.
Am I at the top now, but still getting shat on?
Yep.
Are we in no gravity? How does that work?
0 G's.
So we're moving into free play, right?
Yes.
You are moving into free play. This is an opportunity. Oh, actually, this is a great opportunity for me to also say something that happened last week. Quick update on something we did last week in respect to the rules. Last week we rolled the downtime entanglement phase. We did the downtime entanglement, and we rolled it incorrectly. And I wanted to do a re-roll specifically so that we can highlight the correct way to do it, and then we can talk about, again, the change that we made last week in respect to entanglements. So previously, what happened was we would roll 1d6 if you only had a wanted level of 0, and that is incorrect. As with everything else in Blades in the Dark, when you have 0 dice in something, so when you have like a 0 represented for whatever the mechanic is, you roll 2 dice and you take the lesser of the 2. And so since we made that mistake last week, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to just be aware that I'm going to re-roll it. And then the mechanic doesn't really matter. Well, actually it does, because I'll give you some information about the roll, and you can tell me if you want to take the lesser of 2 rolls, right? So let me do that quickly.
So, just so you know, with the Shroud specifically, roll twice and pick whatever one is the higher.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
No,
higher, no, whatever one's the lower.
You want the one that's lower.
Yeah.
Are you trying to screw us here, Mike?
Okay, so I am not going to roll a second time because you guys actually received a 1.
Okay.
So, and as we talked about last week, when we roll entanglements, moving forward, I will not give you guys a choice as we did in season 1. I will hold on to that information, and that entanglement will come into play naturally in the game, and it'll be a surprise. I will highlight when it is the entanglement, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that it is now something that's going to surprise you versus being something that you're going to pick and just handle right on the spot.
So for all honesty, we were yesterday or last time at 5 heat, but it was reduced by Greg down by 2, I believe. So we would be in the 4 to 5 category of heat.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, guys. So now you're back. You're in free play. So what's going on? How do you guys want to proceed?
Can I just send a letter? Because it doesn't require any time and I can do it from wherever I am. Just get it out of the way. Okay. So I am going to do a flashback that I sent this note a few days before the gala.
Okay. And who are you sending this letter to?
Professor Nicholas Pendrin. For people out there, that was Mike's character during the one shot. He currently, which one is it? Which book?
He currently has, or I guess in the past when you were sending this letter, he has the Codex Machina.
Yes, he has the third book, the third of, yeah.
So I am going to be asking him to come and meet with us the day after the gala, which is today.
Okay. All right.
Should I read my note or just leave it?
Yeah, go ahead and please read your note.
Old habits die hard, Professor. What was once 3 has narrowed to 2. Teamwork is anomalous. So here is a clue. Do be a good lad and bring the book. No funny business. Please do not misconstrue. What do you say to a reunion, old friend? P.S. You still have that telling smirk when you're onto something. I've also been working late.
Ooh.
It's a little bit fucking ominous, isn't it?
Okay, so you send that letter off in the past, and there's not going to be any stress requirement for you doing this as a flashback. How do I want to do this?
When we start it, do you want to explain how the other one shot plays into this once it starts?
Sure. I met with my contact.
I don't know that yet. I'm not with you.
Right.
The whole point is I don't know that he doesn't have it. He still does have it, actually.
Do you? Well, so would you have communicated that letter, that you were the intent of sending that letter to Nyx? Because that would actually flavor the context of the information that Needle was sharing with him.
So Needle can't share that information because the heist where they take it is the night after the gala, which is tonight. Isn't it?
No, it happens the night of the gala. It happens during the chaos.
So this would have happened yesterday.
Yes. So the heist would have happened yesterday. Absolutely.
Okay.
Does that change?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's why I specifically asked Mike.
I forgot.
And then you started talking about it earlier, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, about 12 hours a week.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we? Let's put that little thread on hold while you kind of figure out what you guys want to do with that element.
We still want to meet with him,
Yeah,
I guess,
either way,
now
if
knowing that information. We still want to be like, okay, well, we need you to decipher this. We'll help you get the other book back.
So
you
either
can
way,
still
if you sent the letter before the gala, it's irrelevant. So you sent a letter before the gala,
Yep.
then the thing happened, and then I found out he doesn't have the book. It had no bearing on 3 days ago when you sent the letter.
I would have told you guys that I had a whisper I could talk to.
Yeah.
And I would have told you who he was.
Which is fine. I would know.
So, I mean, you
just
would
this
tell
morning.
me going into the meeting, I'm assuming, because we're all going,
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
into this meeting this morning. Yeah, perfect. So if you're in the room talking to Bowerstone about how cool it is to be in a newspaper, Nix walks in casual and late as ever, and he looks to you and says, "Your friend, Professor Pendrin. Stop me when I have it right.
Pendrin.
Nicholas Pendrin. It appears he was recently entangled by a friend of mine. He was working recently with another professor, Beverly Chandler. No? Not ringing a bell? Well, apparently they're working together on a series of things that may revolutionize travel across the city and all of the Empire. But you had mentioned a book.
What happened?
I think the book is gone.
Does Pendrin know that?
I don't know. It happened a day or so ago, and I assume if he's astute as you say, he would notice by now that his book is missing.
Wait, just real quick. I want to interject something real quick. Would Nix ignore the fact that it happened during the chaos of the night, the long night?
I'm super.
Would he ignore
I'm
that
super
in-
cool with us calling it long night? I don't know. That doesn't seem relevant. That just seems convenient. At this
Okay,
point, that doesn't
because-
seem like a
because
super high note.
Because in my head, Needle would definitely emphasize the fact that Gull was really trying to take advantage of the long night, the circumstances of the long night. To take, for profit. And Needle wouldn't be sure if there was an ulterior motive, but he definitely would. He would be highlighting the fact that people were trying to do business, in an interesting way, while the circumstances, while the city was in chaos, basically.
At this point, after hearing the news, OC would sit on the bed across, just trying to rearrange her plans, and look around. Steam?
In the corner, as if he had been there the entire time. Yes.
Fuck.
The book you're looking for, all of the books that we have two. We have a lead on a third, which I'm assuming you know, because I'm sure you read my letters. And other weird stuff. You just open my mail, I'm assuming.
He just reads it while you write it like a creep. It's just a dot the I.
Bad
Word of
grammar.
our community's acclaims,
You
friends.
too much.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, moving forward. We're going to be having this meeting. Would you wish to join us?
Certainly.
I am going to copy by hand the two books that we have. Just in case. And keep a copy for myself. In case he brings friends, tries to pull anything, thinks that we did it. And she just kind of looks around like, seeing if anyone reacts to that.
Yeah, Nix reacts negatively immediately. You'll do what? You'll copy the entire book.
Yes.
My dear, that won't be the same.
If I have someone who can read it for us, that's not helpful.
To be fair, you can copy the mundanities of the script, but unless you can attune, like Vale could, You can't see the subspectral writing. That's the important part. Whatever Bowerstone's family wrote in that nonsensical book means nothing. It's whatever they found afterwards.
I will have him copy it for us that when he arrives then.
I don't think we should have several copies of this book. I think they exist in single for a reason.
Do you know any other whispers? Do you have any other way for us to read this?
I'm sure I could find one, but duplicating the book and giving it to him, where is
I'm
our
not going to give him anything.
Then what is the need for the duplication of the book? If he only ever reads it here,
Have you seen the city?
it's quite in disarray.
You don't think having a safe copy somewhere is a good idea?
I think the copy we have is quite safe here, no?
Well, it's not there. It's at... Yeah.
It's at the other place.
Formerly known as Bowerstone Cave.
Yeah. Not the place with level 2 arcane locks. Just some guy's house.
Enjoy your
It's not just some guy's house. But yeah, that's kind of... Yeah.
At the end of the day, no one's going to think to look there.
Yeah, that's Nix's argument. He's adamantly against making a duplication of the book. The more eyes on a secret, the less people that can keep a secret.
Word of our community's acclaim spreads.
Although I think wasting your time writing a copy, your time would be better served elsewhere. No one's going to get in their OC.
And how are we to believe what he's saying about the symbols? He's the only one that can see it.
How would we believe anyone?
We need the other book.
We should all be able to see the symbols, just not understand them.
Yes.
No. Facts can be verified.
Enjoy your stay.
How would you go about this meeting? She's looking directly at Steam, since he's now the plotter.
Your goal is to have him decipher the book, correct?
And find a way to record it.
I fear that recording the book might be counterintuitive. How many people tried to do this in the past? These books are, as I believe them to be, ancient. The process would have been diluted if there were several hundred copies of a book. But there is not. There is only one. One of a set. We need to find out what is in them.
Enjoy your stay.
For I believe that in and of itself holds the key to all of Doskvol. You know I'm telling the truth.
She's gonna look over at the rest of the group and say, he's coming to the meeting with me.
I
I don't mean in a physical form.
Yeah, not to sound selfish. He's my head of security. I couldn't find my other guy. What was his... He had some sort of emotion with his name. Sad, smiley, I can't remember. But I need Steam.
Well, then I guess you're coming as well.
I don't think I have to remind you. I'm not exactly in the position to go gallivanting around as I once did. If I get caught, this is going to complicate things.
Did you forget that there's a demon out there that wants to kill us? Maybe. Maybe he wants to be friends. You think you're safe here?
Oh, right. That reminds me. Yes, sorry, forgetful. Ever forgetful. Something about secrets, Bowerstone. The demon, I had quite a long conversation with him. He
Yes.
explained to me that I am to play the melody for this man in white. Also,
Right.
he knows the woman. And he looks to OC and kind of points at her.
Mm-hmm.
The one your friend spoke about with the letter.
What the hell is he going on about?
OC, did we ever talk about the symbol?
We did. We had a discussion last episode. We showed it back and forth. It's some kind of counting thing.
Was I there when the demon was talking to you about the counting system, or did you relay that to me?
No, I'm just telling you about the demon right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys were all out. You guys left to go somewhere, and I was the only person left in the Vale, or in Eden.
Nyx took a big risk. A big risk.
OC's just gonna be like, add that to the list. The to-do list that we've got with the symbol. Something about a threat, something about a woman coming. I don't know. We have a lot of enemies. Just put it on the list.
Yes, you had mentioned that. Your friend Nye, something about someone coming to kill us. There was a woman, something about 500 years old, gave her the letter. Yes, the demon, our friend Mr. Valen, he knows the woman. He's intimately acquainted with her.
He does, or the demon does.
I believe they're one and the same. I think the fact that Valen is there was expressly an illusion.
I got a question for you, Mike. You only saw the woman. Nyx only saw the woman in the vision. Are you jumping to a conclusion there?
No, I showed him the letter and told him about the woman that Nye had said, and he said, "Oh yes, I know that woman."
Right. So I assumed, though, because of the vision, that you were jumping to a conclusion with that. But
I hadn't even brought up the vision yet. No, it was saying that he knows the woman.
What conclusion, Johnny?
I wanted to be very clear about the intent behind what you were sharing or why you were sharing it. So, okay.
I mean, yes, that's the conclusion I've jumped to, but I haven't expressed that to anybody yet.
Okay.
And he also looks to you and says, right, 4 books.
Excuse me?
There are 4 books. At least.
A 4th book?
Yes, I said, I asked him about all 3 books, and he scoffed at me and said there's more than 3.
So there could be 100.
There could be 100. Let's start with 4.
Okay.
Better not be.
So these friends of yours that took the other book, what are we doing about that?
Well, you see, it's difficult to get access to Crow's Foot. But I believe... Johnny, would I know Marique? Would I know him as the creator of lore? Is that a common knowledge thing? Or an underworld knowledge thing?
Would you know him as the creator of lore? Probably not, but he would have been mentioned to you by Needle.
As that, or just as a guy that is in the employ of the Red Sashes?
As somebody who actually actively works for the Red Sashes, as in the form of any type of alchemical research of any kind. So anything involving the chemistry of essentially poisons or that kind of a thing, or maybe medicines of any kind. Needle would definitely know, because it seemed like the relationship between Marique and Needle was strong enough that that information would have been shared. I guess maybe it would have been mentioned in passing, and I'm not sure I'm not sure how important that particular element of information is important to Needle.
Yeah,
in reference to Marique.
Yeah.
So
he says, well, you see, with the martial law, it's quite difficult to pass into Crow's Foot. However, the man who I believe has the book is in quite a good position for us. Not only is my friend watching over him as a guard, but he works in the employ of the Red Sashes, the Eruvians that you are friends with. So perhaps we can use your ties and my friend to locate this man.
Are you talking to OC?
Yeah, because you asked about the other book.
Yeah, how would you know that I'm friends with the Eruvians?
Because episode 2, you made friends with the Eruvians and had a party and seduced them and took one of their captains.
Friends?
I mean, you were...
We blew them up.
I mean, they don't know
you threw a guy down the stairs.
Right, they don't know that you did.
We left dead bodies in their basement, and we killed their cooks.
You just provided prostitutes to a party and had a blast.
Ladies of the night.
Right. So you didn't blow up anybody. That was Bowerbaum and Nyx. And really, Bowerbaum didn't blow up.
Don't you put that on me.
That was
you put that
Nye,
on me.
just to be clear.
That's true. That's true.
I
was gonna say, and then
haven't
power
killed
bomb-
Bowerstone
power
didn't
bombs
blow
didn't-
shit
yeah,
up.
He misaligned bombs and then let someone else do it. So technically, OC isn't good enough standing. If you think about the episode where I grabbed the attention of the Red Sashes and told them about the meeting, I did it as Nyx, and we were still on friendly terms because they didn't know that I'm the one that killed all the dudes in their house because
Okay.
everyone died. So they still think you're an ally. But yeah, so he says, he's quite the position. Perhaps you could use your ties to the Aruvians, and I could use my ally, and we can pinpoint the location of this. I believe his name was Marik. I believe he stole the book.
So we have... Where's the Red Sashes hideout? It's in Crowsfoot, right?
It's in Crowsfoot. It's the
Okay.
Aruvian Sword Academy.
That bar that we have, it would be highly plausible that I have ladies working there.
Okay.
I mean,
Can I
listening.
have them
we
keep...
literally got the bar and then blew up the city. So unless your girls move super fast.
I mean, now's the time to drink.
well, getting ladies of the night into the city, into that side of the city.
Well, when it opened, I'm sure. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Are you sure this demon's not just putting you on a ruse? I mean, they are demons after all.
Well, I thought that until he touched my head and showed me a vision.
He touched you.
Yes, yeah, on the forehead. He showed me... now, brace yourselves. He showed me what I believe was a sunrise.
A what?
A sunrise. It's when the sun
Oh, I
rises.
understand. It's... Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful, I assure
past
you.
or future?
I assume the past. I think the sun was blown up. I'm not sure what happened to it. But, he showed me the sunrise, beautiful, colorful sunrise. He showed me this strange maelstrom of just whirling storm that just sucked the color out of everything. I believe that is whatever happened 1,000 years ago. And he showed me the man in white, standing beside a common man, standing beside an elderly woman, which I can only assume is what has your friend Nye afraid. And she was leading a child.
Oh, does OC would know who that is based on what Nye said? She's back, like...
So the description that OC that Nye would have given you would have been well,
an over 400-year-old woman, like she can't possibly be alive, like she's dead. And she said she's back was, I think, part of.
Well, yeah, she's back, but the description would necessarily, I don't think the physical details necessarily would have been there. Given the OC would definitely probably jump to a conclusion based on the vision that Nyx just shared with you that it's probably the same woman. I mean, that's
plus the same symbol, plus I just mean, like, does OC know who it is as a, like, metagame?
No. Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, you would assume that based on what OC would, in my head, OC would assume that based on what Nye said and her description of the woman that gave her the note, and based on what Nyx just shared with you, that I think that OC would jump to that conclusion. But there's no confirmation. There's no way to confirm that right now. It's not like a fact. It might become your truth, but it's not necessarily a fact yet.
Nye is sleeping. Can I go get her?
You are more than welcome to try to wake her up.
Okay.
I believe Nye is also sleeping in
The next room.
not Eden.
Across the hall.
Oh, you brought her with you?
We're in the brothel, and I laid her on the bed and went into the other room and was talking to Bowerstone. It was the three of us.
Right, that was last night.
No, but it's ephemeral, guys. Wherever you guys decide to meet up, Nye is there. You guys can figure, the circumstances of it is you're meeting wherever is convenient, right?
Okay.
So.
Sorry, I just assumed we were in Eden. My bad.
Dean?
You can be. I'm just, yeah. All right. So are you waking Nye up? Are you trying to wake Nye up?
I'm going to gently. If she doesn't wake up, I'll leave her alone.
She's pretty groggy. She's not incredibly responsive. It's clear again that her energy level is not up she's not recovered from whatever has happened to her.
Okay.
Do you share with the crew the circumstances with which she got back to you? Because there was some significant things that happened there.
You mean her going through all of the various?
Well, her getting caught up in the as a refresher to the viewers, her going through the spectral event that happens at the south end, or I think it's the west end of Crowsfoot, based on the way the new map works, where they rise up out of the canal and kind of move in forest, right? And then, when she was finally to escape from that, she felt like she got caught up in a maelstrom of spiritual activity and was just carried along with it. And when she finally extracted herself, she actually got caught up in a separate event, which is a result of the massacre that happened on the caravan, right? And so she, by the time that she extracted herself from that and got back to got out of Crowsfoot and back to you in Night Market, she was so completely drained that, when she finally possessed, it took her, a good 5 minutes to kind of begin to get control of the body. And even then she was incredibly sleepy. And she said she needed to recharge, to rest, to recuperate. So whatever happened to her, she described it in a way that was, like she was out of energy, like she was incredibly weak spiritually, spectrally wise. Her energy level as a spirit, as a ghost, was that she was almost
Depleted.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
She needed that life. She needed to gain life essence back, essentially. And so when you look at her and she kind of stirs a little bit, one of the things that you do notice about the body that she has inhabited, the young woman that she's inhabited, is that person's physical form is starting to take on a pallor of gray and looking a little bit more, very pale, and just the color is almost being drained from the body. Like it's obvious that on some fundamental level, with Nye inhabiting the body, she's draining the body of life essence.
Okay. I'm asking a question.
It's okay.
Johnny, would Steam be able to ascertain exactly what the problem is with Nye and maybe a potential solution or a way to help her out? Like attuning or slipping into the field, or
you might be able to see more about her, about what's going on with her by attuning to the ghost fields. I'm not sure necessarily. I would need you to come up with a narrative way to describe how you would help her, and then we can figure out if the attune makes sense or if there's something else going on. So I think that from that perspective, I would need you to kind of I would need you to describe what you think would be the right way to approach that. So you're more than welcome to attune though and get a description from me what's going on, and then maybe there's something that comes out of that inspires you.
Well, technically, I mean, he doesn't know until he's told. So Steam, I was just putting a.
But so you're aware that Nye is there, right?
I would have once I saw how bad she was, I would have walked out and started to kind of explain what happened, and I probably would look at Steam since he's the only other person who has that spectral knowledge and that, maybe a little bit of a broader understanding of it, and ask if there's anything that can be done. I would pretty much directly ask him, what would the effect be if I helped her?
Are you asking me that question?
No, I'm asking Steam.
Oh.
I would have to examine her. I would have to observe her in the field. Will you allow that?
Yes. And then she'll walk him back in.
As Steam would walk into the room then, and he would see the state of the decomposing or the deteriorating corpse,
she's not a corpse. Just let's be clear. She's not a corpse. The
I'm
body.
sorry, the shell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the shell.
Right.
How dare you?
Well, hold on. So here's the thing. When Nye is She's not one of the let's talk about metagame real quick. She's not one of the reconciles. She still has to possess people in order to feed on them. She has to consume their life energy in order for her to sustain herself, but she doesn't have the rage that most young spirits have because they feel denied from that existence, right? She hasn't passed to that state. So in this particular case, more often than not, as Ginge has described it in the past, the body tends to last for a while, and sometimes she abandons it, and sometimes she just consumes it to the point of death, right? And the other spirit, the spirit of the actual person, is either moves on into the ghost life, or that spirit, that the person returns to normal after a time. In this case, the physical form is still alive. The spirit of the person is still there, the young woman that they're taking advantage of, but the body is starting to the body is starting to fade in color, and so a considerable amount of the life force is being consumed in a way that it almost the young woman's pallor and her physical movements. It's like Nye is feeding, she's recharging, she's rejuvenating, but it's clear that the impact is the hair is starting to kind of lose its luster, and this is again Nye and OC tend to choose very young women, at their prime and, in their young life. And you can see that this is affecting that young woman in a significant way.
Yeah. And when she feeds, or if she's going to be in a body for a long period of time, she uses the houses, the brothels, or whatever, as almost to recharge one person at a time, a tiny bit, enough to just sustain her, where the person isn't really affected that much. They may be tired or like a little bit weaker, but they wouldn't notice. They wouldn't know any different.
Yeah, right. This is significantly different, though, correct? I mean, this is
like her, if it were 10 years or a year, whatever, of her just not feeding, or weeks, or whatever it is.
Okay. All right, Johnny, I'll slip into the field, and Steam wants to observe. Wait, before Steam goes in, he will turn and say to OC, "Just watch her. Watch the body while I am in there." And he'll shift into the ghost field, and I want to specifically look to see if there is some type of tether, because technically she should be able to jump into a new body and recharge quicker, correct? Am I wrong in that tactic? It seems like this one's spent, but for some reason she's not, like...
It's not spent till they're dead.
Okay, but I mean, this is an accelerated move here. Normally you guys don't want to, husk out people, right? You want to take them to a specific point, and then...
And that is actually
Yeah,
that's actually a really good description, is husking her out. Like, the insides, the spiritual energy that is this person, the soul, is almost like it's being scooped out and being consumed in a massive way. So the body is going from being a fully functional, breathing individual to, essentially, an empty vessel, a hole, for lack of a better description. So I think that using the word husk is a perfect description for that. Whether she could jump to another body and begin to consume in the same way, that's really a question of circumstance and whether it actually happens or not. I mean, it could be, it couldn't be. It really is, from a narrative perspective, I know what's going on with her. You could suggest that and see if that changes. Or you could have OC do something, make a suggestion, or have OC take an action, or you can take an action. It's how you position what it is that you're trying to do. Like, you slipping into the ghost field, what are you looking for? What are you looking to try to figure out? That will begin to determine from a story perspective the next, what the next step is, or whether it's right or wrong, from how a character motivation perspective.
Okay, here's what he's specifically looking for, Johnny. Steam is going to look to see if, since he has a lot of experience with viewing ghosts and seeing them in the loop and seeing how they interact, to see if this possession is normal. And it doesn't have to be a specific, it doesn't have to be, this is exactly the detail that's causing this to be abnormal. I'm just looking for the broad spectrum of, I've seen normal. Normal is 99% of possessions. Is this different? And I don't even know how it's different. I just need to know that there's something wrong.
Okay.
And if she's close to recharging, maybe, or if she's too far gone.
If it's working, yeah. But I'll take it step by step. If it's different, then we know something's wrong.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me an attune.
Okay. Since I'm in the field and since we have that crew ability, can I gain some extra dice?
We're in the fields. What's the ability that you're looking for?
I'm in the field itself, so normally that gives me a benefit to attune on an attune roll, and then we have the crew ability as well.
Ghost echoes.
Ghost echoes.
Okay, so yeah, that'll give you an additional die. But let's before we start talking about additional die, let's take a step back. You're rolling attune. The position is going to definitely be controlled. You're in a circumstance where you're in a safe place. I don't think there's any element about this that even closely comes to risk, unless we're talking about the circumstance.
Yeah.
What do you mean interjection?
Or like trying to do anything about it.
Right, exactly. It's still a very controlled situation because you're just trying to analyze the situation. So, effect. What do you guys think in respect to effect? Because I think, to me, what I'm seeing is that this is a limited, because you're focusing very specifically on Nye's presence in this body, or it could be essentially a normal effect, a regular effect of where it's about the Nye, it's about the vessel, the whole, the person involved, and potentially what's going on right around you. I don't see that there's any way that this is going to have a greater effect.
Is it going to be an issue that she's going to look at this like her next meal?
That's the only thing I thought of for risky. Is
that's
that
why I'm watching.
That's why she's there. If he goes in and she says, "Oh my God," she's desperate, like almost like a starving shark or something, and just sees chum and goes at me. That's where I thought that it could be risky, and that I was going in for.
Okay, well then let's take a step back.
Well, she didn't attack me, and she was worse off before.
Yeah.
If you're tuning to the ghost
and she
field,
knows what you look like.
add something different.
How does she know what Steam looks like?
How does she know what Steam looks like?
Oh, she's been asleep.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have... Fuck. Never mind.
She can hear you in the ghost field. It's just whether or not how bad off she is.
Don't nibble his giblets.
I'm just telling you, man, because the ghost field's a completely different plane, essentially, of existence.
Yeah.
And if I go in there, hell, man, she could be.
She would be trying to calm her down, though, and talking to her while you're doing that.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah, I would just be talking to her like.
So you would be like holding her hand, or consoling her, giving her some sort of level of intimacy to calm her in this situation, because you're not sure. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Which then tells me that even when you're attuning, before you take any other dice, OC is offering you an assist, and I'm not going to make you take stress for that, because you offered that circumstance on your own, like as a description, right? It wasn't I'm going to give you an assist. It's no, I'm going to help the situation, and so you're going to get one die for the assist, and then it sounds like you're going to get 2 additional die for your ability. Yeah. All right. So
now for the effect, we were talking about it being standard,
either limited or standard, and I think it really depends on how much information you're trying to consume in this. Are you trying to just get a sense of just Nye, or is it Nye, the body, the extra spirit, what's in the room with you, essentially?
He cares absolutely nothing for the body or the spirit of the girl that is the husk. He's focusing solely on Nye, and he wants to just see if there is something wrong. Like she's not getting enough energy. It's going backwards. She's sick. He doesn't have to know what the details are about it. He just needs to know that there's something off, because he's not going to be able to fix it. I'm not a whisperer. I'm not going to be
better.
If I can tell you this is not you, she's slipping. She's going somewhere else. Or she's losing focus.
Or I need to get another person. Or I need to.
Right. Yeah. If I can just come out.
She looks like she's getting somewhere. Yeah.
Right. So would that be a standard if I'm limiting the knowledge to a? just a one type of is it wrong or if it's
It also affects me too, though, and how I'm going to go about the rest of our missions and scores. And
Okay, why don't we let's call it standard. And given those circumstances, hold on, let's see what happened there. Given those circumstances, by making it standard, if there is a consequence of some kind, right? If you roll in a negative way, just be aware that there is the example that I always like to use is, if you roll a 4 or 5, you succeed, but you might attract the attention of somebody who's necessarily, you don't want to. So it's like I said, huh?
So don't fuck this up.
Right, no pressure. It's
yeah, no pressure at all.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm really good at attune too. So
We brought you in. We could take you out real quick.
Yeah.
the dice are going to do that for you.
It's a great 1 point in a tune.
Whoa! I totally missed. Oh wow! Okay, well, that happened.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, so 4. Controlled situation, 4 standard effect. So you succeed, but right. So you start to attune, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question or two as you're attuning. And you can tell me how Steam responds, and based on how you respond, will determine the consequence that comes up. Okay?
Okay.
So you begin to attune. Can you describe to me what it is like for you when you attune specifically in the ghost field to look at other spirits? Like, is it any different from you just slipping into the ghost field in general? Is there a change in focus? What does it look like for you?
It's very easy for Steam. When he slips into the ghost field, he's more comfortable there than he is in the quote-unquote real world. He feels more at home. He feels more empowered. And whenever he has to focus on an individual spirit, it's not so more than just kind of an empty gaze into the middle distance. It just takes him a second to kind of drone out, kind of not focusing, but focusing, and then kind of bringing them forward out of the mists and then observing.
Enjoy your stay.
Okay. So as you begin to attune, as you bring them out of the mist, one of the first things that you see is that there is a weird combining of the spirit that as the body's spirit, as the person that inhabits that body, that was born into that, right? There's a very obvious resonance, a color, a sound, a circumstance that it represents that vibrance, that is the soul that inhabits, the spirit that inhabits the body, that was born with that body, and that will go on to quote unquote die with that body. But you see that enmeshed with something else. And this something else is almost parasitic in nature as it's kind of wrapped around. And you've seen possession before in walking through Doskvol. This does not look normal to you in respect to possession. The way that you understand the circumstance of what Nye does when she, as OC has explained. So there's almost something parasitic in nature, and the glow that's coming off of this parasite as it's wrapped around is very different, and it's very aggressive. It's obvious that whatever's going on as it begins to come in clearer and clearer focus, it's not expected. It's not normal. It's not what should be happening. When when a ghost possesses a body, it's more like cohabitation, and the feeding is more of a gradual sort of a thing. This is something else completely. So as you're focusing in on this, do you want to continue to look, or do you want to pull back?
I'm going to continue to look, but I'm going to go the full bye-bye. And I'm going to take an extra hit of stress and go completely invisible in the ghost field. Can I do that?
Sure, but the consequence of you continuing to move forward, so the consequence of this circumstance is as you begin to continue to completely shift into the ghost field, and as you do that, you go into that, essentially state of just being completely invisible, of being completely unseen, that state of fully coming in and then kind of fading out for just a second. You feel the gaze of whatever that presence is. What you are now assuming is the parasitic, the parasitic response that is nigh. That is that you're coming to associate with her. Its gaze shifts from where it's feeding on the young woman's spirit, her life essence, and looks at you fully, and you are given a circumstance. You are just taken aback, as if its hunger is targeting you next. Like it wants you. You can feel the want. You can feel the desire. It wants to feed on you, and it just rolls over you in waves as you begin to just completely fade out, and then it loses sight of you, and its gaze immediately turns back to the soul that it's feeding.
Okay, is there any way to identify that this is the only other spirit available, that this is Nigh? Her ghost essence has been converted or bastardized into this parasitic whatever it is. You
don't see, okay, so it's not alien in a way that you think it's something else, that the spirit has evolved into something else. It
looks like Nigh, right? Okay.
It looks like the spirit as described to you by OC. It resonates with that familiarity based on what she describes. It's just a hungry spirit. It's just something. It is aggressive in its desire to consume on this young woman.
Okay, I'll slip back out. I've never seen anything like this before. Would Steam have seen something like this before?
Well, that kind of depends on Steam's experience with possession. Would he have had a previous experience with anybody dealing on a large scale? Because this would be something that would be incredibly rare for even a Whisper to see. Okay, well then probably not to that extent. Okay. Right. All right. Then yeah, this is something that is completely unknown to you. This is your first time experiencing it. Okay.
As soon as he slips back out, he looks over at OC and he says, "There is something wrong. I've never seen it before. If you have a Whisper, call them."
I believe we have one coming, but now it's urgent.
She's almost done with this host.
OC is just pacing around the room, throwing glasses, pretty much. She's gonna quietly thank him and walk out of the room and call one of the other girls in. One of the younger women.
Okay. So when you do that, okay, how do I want to ask this question? I don't want to be too terribly leading, but fuck it, I'm just going to ask. Your intent is to have her transition from one body to the other. Is that correct?
I'm going to transpowder her as soon as she walks in the room and lay the host next to the sofa as an offering to buy me more time. OC at this point, except for obviously with the exception of Steam because he's helping in her group, anyone is expendable at any cost right now. She'll go through this entire brothel and everyone she owns if that's what it takes to go find an answer.
OC, does the host... I don't know how this works. Can they take some life force away without completely taking the host?
At this point, it's up to the parasite. It's up to whatever she's turning into. Would the parasite take the offering, like leave the host alone and take a new offering, or kill it and then switch?
Well, we can leave that up to a fortune roll, actually. This, like I said, I understand the circumstance. I've in creating the circumstance, I know what's happening, but I want to leave. I want to leave certain things to chance as to what she's actually going to do, like what action she would take.
Yeah, because Reymond, he would feel he owes a lot to Nye for what's happened. He's partially responsible for this. He's not admitting to it blatantly, but that's why he's asking the questions.
Yeah, OC's not blaming anyone. She just doesn't care who has to die right now, except for the group to wait pretty much for Professor Penderin to get here, and almost in absolute demand that he help or try.
Well, so are you waiting for Nicholas's response then, essentially at this point? Because you've made the offering, or you've put the next body next to her in hopes that she will transfer herself and the process will continue without getting worse.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy time until he can get here to fix it.
Okay, sure.
So could it get worse? It's about as bad as it can get right now for OC. Mm-hmm. Not getting Nye back is not an option for her right now.
Okay.
So she's buying time. Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So you're buying time, and it sounds like. Okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna roll a fortune roll, to determine what happens next specifically with Nye. Depending upon the result, and I'll roll the roll in the open, but depending upon the result, whether you'll see a visible change or not. Subsequently, let's call this an opportunity for something else to happen while you figure out whether you're going to continue to wait for Nicholas's response, or you're going to, because you essentially, if you want to make that your next score, figuring out what's going on with Nye, then we can start down that process. I'm happy to give you guys as much free time to play. I just want to make sure that you're taking advantage, and moving in the direction that you guys think you need to. That's
I don't want this to be the OC show. I was kind of like, is Nicholas coming at this point? Because she said like midday on that day, and it's that day. So.
Well, he has not arrived, right?
Okay.
He has not arrived yet. So that gives you pause for just a second.
Okay.
You guys are funny, the way I get messages from you guys, even from the other show. I just want you to know that. I'm just saying that right now. Okay, so let's do the fortune roll, and let's figure out what happens to Nye in this particular circumstance. Again, with the messages.
Did you see my message?
I did. What's funny is that Mike messaged me the same exact thing.
Son of a bitch.
Okay,
so I'm running a fortune roll.
I am going to roll a fortune. Actually, you know what? That's actually a great idea. Why don't you roll the fortune roll, and let's determine an action that makes sense in relation to.
It says roll fortune. Do I click that button?
Has a fortune roll.
Well, so you can, depending upon the fortune roll, sometimes it's the amount of dice that gets determined based on. So, let me look at OC's character sheet real quick. That would determine the amount of dice. I'm okay with you rolling a 3d6 for consort as your fortune roll. So just click on fortune and then add 3 dice to it. Unless.
Can I push myself?
You sure can.
Sure should, I think.
You want to take a devil's bargain?
You should take a devil's bargain.
Why is everyone always? Why are you guys always pushing that?
How much do you love?
Can I assist?
This is a fortune roll.
He's putting a pillow up under her head and like.
Well, I would need a really. I'm not opposed to the idea. I would need you to explain to me the narrative perspective on you assisting in this case.
So, in this case, Reymond, with OC's permission, would get close to Nye,
Okay.
kneeling down by her bedside, and just whispering
Sweet nothings.
gently. Just
She'll allow it.
Gross.
fine. We'll let her die then.
Hey.
No. This is actually perfect because okay. So here's what I'm imagining in this situation so far: is Nye is passed out on a bed or on a couch or something. However you got her positioned, wherever you guys are, you have brought in another young vessel for her to occupy. So that person has been laid out next to her, whether it's on the floor next to the couch or on the bed next to her. Reymond then leans down and is trying to assist in offering whatever happens. So if there is a consequence, the consequence could affect Mr. Bowerstone instead. I'm loving this circumstance. That's why I'm amused about it. So
That's up to you, Slade.
Yep.
huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
4d6 at this point.
So 46 at this point. Do you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
So what's... I haven't read it in a while. The Devil's Bargain. Let's
So you get to know what it would be before you say yes or no. But if you say yes or no,
it's
no matter
that.
if you say yes, no matter if the roll is positive or negative, it happens.
That is correct.
Good. And you're going to listen to it
so what's
carefully
the-
because it might come back and bite you later on when you weren't listening properly.
I heard the plural. You should have been listening.
Or try to stab you.
Okay, so what would it be?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to throw around the table first because I know that there are a couple of sneaky motherfuckers who like really, really interesting situations or add interesting situations to the table. So I'm going to throw it out to the table before I suggest what I would bring to the table as for a devil's bargain. Anybody else want to be
She
an
can
evil
only
baptist?
inhabit really ugly ghost dudes.
I do, but I feel like a dick saying it.
Okay,
Just
so
say
she
it.
can. So she can only.
Is this a consequence for OC or Nye?
It
Yes.
does not matter. It is a devil's bargain. No matter whether it's successful or not, the consequence actually happens. So
For
I like.
me. He's asking for who? It's for me because I'm rolling the fortune roll.
No. Well, you're rolling the fortune roll, but it could be. It could also affect Nye in a significant way. Her always being able to occupy, men that are a certain,
We'll let her go then, guys. She wasn't.
That's there would have to be a weird explanation for it, but I could see it. But it's on the more kind of a weird side. So Slade, what's your suggestion?
One of her establishments becomes compromised somehow.
In what way?
Yeah, but how does that
Well,
relate?
that's the thing. It's up to.
No, that doesn't have to necessarily relate. It's just a devil's bargain.
It's just something shitty to happen to me. It doesn't have to be.
It's not necessarily something shitty, right? So let's talk about Slade's one that he took real quick. The assassination attempts on him could actually be played in his favor, and I know that that's one of the things that Mike is thinking about.
What?
It could be played into Bowerstone's favor. So it doesn't necessarily have to have a long-term negative impact. It's just considered a consequence from fate.
You mean if Bowerstone is bleeding out and he's desperate, he'll say anything and make a ghost contract? What?
Spoilers.
What do you mean? So because
You're
I'm
off the committee.
because I'm the bastard of the party, let's call this a lore thing. It's called the Siren Song, and whatever you're doing, whatever situation, it's super rare that's happening to Nye. Your activity in trying to help it or transfer it to a new body sends out a pulse in the ghost field that may attract ghosts or other things.
Can we use Steam? Sorry, buddy. As like a human meat shield to suppress the Okay.
No, you cannot.
Are you essentially
come
asking
on,
him
we're
to
just
jump on the
spitballing
grenade?
Well, my suggestion, since that suggestion just came up, was that the devil's bargain for OC is her Taikarosi heritage is revealed to the public.
I like that.
Ouch.
Wow.
'Cause I could make that. I already had plans for that. I mean, I didn't. That would suck. Please choose that.
Interesting.
Wow.
Would I get to choose how that happens?
No.
I could do it in a negative way.
You could take control of the situation and do it yourself, but it's got to come out.
No, that's what I meant. Can I like choose to pick a shitty way that it happens and then kind of?
Oh yeah, you could totally do that. But you the player are accepting this consequence for your character. How it happens is still up to the players around the table, including me. But you, the player, are choosing the circumstance with which your character is then going to have to deal with this particular consequence, right? Whether it's, one of OC's establishments becomes compromised, whether it's your heritage becomes revealed, whether it's the pulse into the ghost field that attracts attention. And this isn't the first time that's actually happened.
Yeah.
Hocus has had things get attracted to him because of his engagement in the ghost field, right? It's a circumstance. It's going to happen at some point. So,
what the hell, Trindane?
Something about you on your knees. That's all I heard. All right. Well, then you guys pick, and then I'll decide.
Okay. So I'm going to offer my option to the part as a part of this, and then I think it really is, a decision for the table. So. The circumstance with which saving, or adding this devil's bargain to this situation, Nye actually loses herself and loses her memory.
This isn't a question. This is not an appropriate time to ask this question. Never mind.
Ask me privately if it's that important, and that's my option. That's my offering to the table for the devil's bargain.
Man, I say either Johnny's or Greg's.
Yeah. They're brutal.
We gotta vote. Well, you guys
can make Chad. You can make Chad vote. I think this is one of those
Straw
ones.
poll.
That's true.
Straw poll.
That's true. Do I have a mod in chat? If I have a mod in chat, Frags, if you're around, make that a straw poll, please.
I'm gonna add a bit of excitement to this.
Oh God.
You do the straw poll. Make sure they set it so that people can't vote more than once. I'll take either.
And you're just going to roll with the devil's bargain? Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Oh my God. That is...
But it has to be one of those two.
Fuck yeah, man.
Balls to the walls. Let's do this.
Oh, wow.
That dangerously this season.
Wow. Ginge just steps up and lays it all on the line. I like it. Okay. So... the options as presented are, Greg, your option was?
OC's Taikarosi heritage becomes public.
Or Nye, in healing her in the circumstances of this situation, Nye loses her memory. She becomes
This is to delay it or to fix it?
This is a fortune roll to figure out what happens to Nye as this body is put next to her, and what happens to her because of what Steam saw. So it determines essentially what happens next, whether she's, as has been presented. Now, I'll.
But is she still gonna have? Is she still gonna have the issue?
Oh yeah,
that's a secondary. Okay.
So
I should use the devil's bargain on that.
Well, the devil's bargain on what?
That's not a fortune roll. That's his ability to help. If we can get him to come help us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
It'll buy me enough time till he gets here, though, right? I'm not just gonna do this shit, have it suck, and then she dies or something on this way here.
We're determining what happens next, right? It could help her. It could heal her. It could make things worse. It could not change anything at all, right?
Fuck it. Let's do it. Fuck it.
All right. So you've got 5 die now at this point, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Okay, so just so you know, there is a fortune button all the way at the bottom under Sly Friends. Just to see.
Okay.
But that's perfectly fine because that is a 6. So when the straw poll determines, we'll talk about that result. But coming back to the matter at hand, Reymond comes in and begins to kind of offer. Reymond, how are you helping in this? Like when you're consoling, because OC when she's giving giving comfort to Nye in the body, she's holding her hand, she's whispering sweet nothings to her, she's talking about better times, right? She's providing that. What kind of support is Reymond providing?
So for him, he's going to rest his hand on Nye's shoulder.
Okay.
And say, when we find out the answer to help you, for what you've done for me, I promise you, I will help you, whatever needs.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is my fault.
Heaven help her if she ever finds out, but wait, she does know.
She does know.
Exactly. Anyways, so
this is all my fault.
Shaking her.
The consolation begins to happen, right? You guys are sweet whispering to her as the body is there. Time passes, and what is noticed is that there's a change in circumstance. The young woman that she is possessing, her body begins to stiffen a little bit as the body next to her of the other young woman begins to change in respect as well. And it's not a stiffening so much as it is a relaxing of the muscles and the face, and everything is just there's a subtle shift. And after a couple of minutes, if you're watching in the ghost field, Steam, what you see is a sort of a flowing of the parasitic spirit from one to the other, but there is less aggression as it moves from one to the other, as Nye is clearly beginning to feel recharged in some way. And as the spirit, the flowing parasitic nature, the color and the resonance of it begins to shift to a more normal kind of a thing. It's still not 100%, but it's clear that the parasitic aspect of it has stopped feeding on the young woman who is, whose pallor was sort of, who's losing her life essence. And it begins to kind of, that spirit begins to flow into the other body. And you begin to see the feeding happen again, but it is less aggressive, and it is less of a nature of that parasitic hunger and more about, the cohabitation in the body. And so the young woman whose body was just the parasitic nature of Nye left, there's an immediate spark. Whatever it is that drives, life and the spirit and everything else, immediately it begins to rejuvenate and charge. It's a slower process. You've seen this happen in the past when somebody is fed on. They eventually recover, right? They're never 100% whole again, but they begin to recover. You see a gradual version of this process begin to happen, but it is clear that this young woman has a long road to recovery in respect to recovering her spirit. But her color does begin to kind of creep back into her face, right? There's a little bit of a difference. And so Nye moves from one body to the other without killing the first body. And Reymond, OC, at a certain point, you feel the young woman's body kind of tense up, and it happens for a couple minutes, and then she begins to relax and fall into a very deep sleep. She's not dead, but it's clear that she needs some attention from a physiker at some point.
At this point, Steam will go up to OC, and he's not going to put his hand on her shoulder or anything, but he will stand shoulder to shoulder with her, and he will turn and say, "Whatever it was, whatever you did, it's working."
We all have our demons. And
Yours.
she's gonna wait for to see if anything else changes.
So the body of the new possessed young woman falls into what you would interpret as a more restful sleep. right? It's clear that the feeding is still going on, that the consumption is going on, the recharging is still going on, but the young woman is sleeping more naturally. It's more even. There's not her breathing is more even. Her color isn't changing all that much, although you can tell that there's a little bit of a difference. And again, the circumstances are such that you get a sense that things are going to get better. Like Nye is going to recover. Okay, Arnold.
Like,
you get a
not a fix, a recover enough for now.
right. She is beginning to recover.
Do we need to get more bodies?
Put the bodies in the. She's just gonna gingerly, pick the lady up off the sofa and put her somewhere else, and then put Nye on the sofa. Like she literally gives no fucks.
So you don't call for a physiker for the other young woman. You don't essentially acknowledge her current physical state.
She will, but she wants Professor to also look at her, just in case.
All right. So as this is all going on, it happens over the course of probably a good 20 or 30 minutes. You don't. Hold on a second. Nicholas Penderin never shows up, right? He doesn't actually come and visit. And so you're left waiting there the rest of the night. And eventually at the end of the night, you receive a short note from Nicholas saying, circumstances have changed. I am not in possession of what you seek, but I will have more information soon. And the script is very terse, and it's scribbled on very quickly, and it's signed informally. And this is not Nicholas Penderin as you know him. He is a very aloof, very sort of, flowy, flowery kind of guy, as Mike has described him in the past.
Super affluent.
Yeah, he is somebody who takes his time with things, who would have written a beautiful, the writing, the penmanship behind this would have been much more grand, right? He would have taken his time in composing this. That's not the case. It's clear that it's his script still, but it's not. It's something. It's a
Something's wrong.
a note that has been written hastily. You're absolutely right. There is something.
We know why, so we know the book was taken.
So yes, you do know that the book was taken. You do know that the circumstances around the robbery of Beverly Chandler's lab. You don't necessarily know if that's what he's implying, other than he said that I do not have what you have, what you were seeking in my possession.
Okay.
So.
With that, OC is going to call a carriage, one of her establishment carriages.
Okay.
And put Nye in it, and come back to the group. And just kind of thank them for helping or watching or whatever everyone was doing, and thank Steam and Bowerstone personally. This is where we part. Clearly the professor has no intention of coming. Even if he did have the book, I don't know that he would have shown. I'm going to deal with this the only other way that I know how. And she's going to get in the carriage and leave.
Oh, she's gone.
Oh, and on our way back, and just be like, oh, by the way, deal with this. And the girl who's like half dead. And then let them leave.
Gentlemen, do you wish me to follow her?
I do.
He disappears.
Well, that was quick.
OC is in the carriage, knowing that he's probably going to follow her. And she'll just be comforting Nye and saying, there are some things better left unsaid. For your own safety, I do not recommend following you. Follow at your own risk. And she's just kind of like talking to him, and then goes back to like comforting.
As the carriage is pulling away.
You do what you want. She warned you.
Reymond just looks to Nyx. Nyx. Did you get another new jacket?
Of course.
I need your presence tomorrow night.
One can never have too many fine articles of clothing. You should know that, my friend.
Yes, we'll dress up well tomorrow night. You're coming to my home tomorrow.
Great. And Nyx goes to retrieve the half-dead girl and straps her to the Judas cross. It's a free vice. I don't have to find someone. She's just
Also,
there.
we don't have to clean anything up.
Yeah.
Good on you, buddy.
She's a hollow. She has no soul right now. Totally
She's not
fine.
a kid. Are you sure you don't want to get that kid back here and tie him up too?
No, the kid. I don't hit
Sick
kids.
fuck.
I just scar them mentally and tell them they belong to me.
Oh, you have a line.
Different children, yeah.
We found it.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, she does still have a soul.
Not for long.
Steam, see, you're better off staying there and dealing with these idiots.
Okay, I want to highlight something real quick because I find this really interesting. It seems like the moment that Reymond discovered that he had assassination attempts coming at him through the Devil's Bargain, he started panicking. He gets a bodyguard, and yet he keeps allowing the bodyguard to move away from him.
Allowing?
He just ordered him.
He did.
He just ordered him to follow you.
Listen, Steam ain't no bitch. He doesn't need a keeper. He's made it this long.
Some people at certain times are worth more than just my own protection.
Okay.
And that's when the assassin can. I'm just kidding.
Guys, turns out Nyx is the assassin. though.
No, it's the half-dead chick. She just fucking picks her head up and throws a knife at him.
That's awesome.
Surprise.
Okay, so Nye has just left. OC has just left,
Yeah.
leaving the rest of you there. Before I ask OC where she's going with Nye, I would like to find out what the rest of you would like to do, especially starting with Steam. Steam, are you taking her warning to heart?
Well, technically, when Steam goes into the ghost field, I would be able to see. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is meta, real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm all good with meta. The game is designed for it. So
let me pose this question to the group. If I slip into the ghost field, I see everybody as they truly are, the living. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see their clothes. I just see them.
Heyo.
Yeah.
This would be the first time that I slipped into the ghost field, technically in her presence with another spirit. Would I now know that she's a Taikarosi?
So here's my dumb question.
To add to his complex question.
Because it has to help answer.
Okay.
You can't tell unless she's naked. Is it the spirit you're looking at? Would you be able to tell someone's race or whatever they are?
That's my question.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so I think in the case of, like, let's take Nyx for example. Nyx hails from the Dagger Isles, so technically he is a different ethnicity.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it's one of those words that I always have trouble with. So you would be able to. I don't think that you would be able to tell because he technically is still mortal. He still is human. Demons, or having demon heritage of some kind. What do you guys think? Because I think that there's an opportunity here to really. We're going to set a precedence, essentially, something that it's going to apply to all three crews. Is it something that?
So question one is. It's in the book. It's widely believed that Taikarosi have heritage of demons. So the question is, do they? And if so,
yep.
Yes,
They
I
do.
would say yes.
So would you see like a darker spirit because it's a kind of like a damned tempered with like a dirty almost soul, I guess, like mortal people would.
Like normal spirits are bluish. We've established color codes now. Normal spirits are bluish. Demonic spirits are reddish.
Purplish.
Yeah, it'd be like mostly blue with like a tinge of red or purple.
I'm good with purple.
Okay, so that could legitimately be the circumstance, right? Is that, when you dip into the ghost field, you would definitely see that there is some difference. And I'm going to let OC describe what that difference is, because
No, she doesn't have to describe. All he needs to know is there's a possibility that she's a Taikarosi, because you asked me, does he go or does he stay? Does he heed her warning or does he go? If she's a Taikarosi, he stays. If he doesn't go, she goes.
I think based on what she said, the we obviously to Bowerstone, I could just be being an asshole because we all fuck with him. But she also said once she realized what he was when we first met, she said, I trust him already. Knowing what you were. So using that's would your character... You would know what to look for.
Yep.
And if you even had like a question of it.
And let's be honest, when haven't you been a peeping Tom this game?
It's a constant and an accepted station. So.
Do you watch Nye and I, you weirdo?
What's that?
Or do you watch Nye and I?
Of course.
Bill Nye?
Okay, so...
You're not asking me that in character, so I can lie. No, I did not.
So you know that she is, when you dip into the ghost field, you know that she is different, that she has Taikarosi heritage.
I don't let her out of my sight.
You don't let her out of your sight. Okay. Well, he may, and he may also cause problems for you at that situation where I think I know where you're going. Yeah, Trindane also brings up a really good point in chat. It also depends on the strength of that heritage too, right? Which is also something that we need to talk about. And it's because we're establishing the precedence that yes, there is a demon heritage going on. There is demon blood in all Taikarosi. And we can talk about a backstory for that. But strength of the heritage is also something I'm going to want each of the Taikarosi characters to think about at some point. So awesome. Thank you, Trindane, for bringing that up. Now, under this circumstance, the two of you that are left are Bowerstone and Nyx. Those two have disappeared. Steam on Reymond's request, OC on wanting to take care of this circumstance by herself, even though she just asked the group for help, which is interesting. What is Nyx and Reymond doing?
Nyx straps the girl to the Judas cross. Just casually, and then walks back out of the demon's room too. Straps her in that one, and walks back out and says, "Well, I believe you had a meeting to attend to, my good Lord Bowerstone."
Clean up after yourself.
No, she's for later.
Exactly. I expect you tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Wear something decent.
So not your coat.
Just walks off.
Okay, so as Reymond walks off, and I'm going to ask you where Reymond's going, and I'm going to ask you where Nick is going. We're getting close to the end of the time, so we can talk about whether we want to go a little bit farther than 8 o'clock or whatever. But as Reymond walks away, and Nyx is just kind of, standing there kind of looking around, you see the head of Valen kind of poke out the door and says, "Thanks," closes the door, and you begin to hear the screams of the young woman.
He just looks through the door and says, "Leave a little bit alive, please." And then he goes and prepares his documents.
You don't see him in the room when you look in the room. You just see her writhing in pain.
Cool. I watch for a second, and then I go prepare documents for tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you're going to go off and prepare. So we can talk about that. Does that mean that meeting is going to be the score?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's essentially the next score.
Okay, well, hold on. That actually may not be the case, given where Ginger's going with OC. So, Reymond, where are you leaving for?
I'm going to the Vale.
And doing what?
Staying there overnight. Because it's neutral ground, and I'm not.
He's terrified of being killed.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna roll any fortune roll to find out if your assassination attempts begin, because I actually have the first one in mind and I want it to be kind of epic. Now, Nyx and Bowerstone have identified what they're doing and what they're preparing for, with the expectation the score is going to be the social circumstance, the meeting between Lady Rowan, Lord Balmore, and Reymond Bowerstone. Now, OC, where are you going?
We're going to be ending the episode soon. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to say home.
No, I think you're going to need to tell us what's going on, because
It might lead to a score if you think about it.
I'm definitely, I think it needs to lead to a score, but I think if we're going to end the episode there, or with you kind of moving off to going home, I think that's a great cliffhanger to leave on.
Okay.
So if that's your intent, I'm going to want you to describe where you arrive to, and I want Steam's reaction to what happens, and then that's where we'll end it.
She is going to get out of the carriage, lay Nye gently on the ground, disrobe, and everything under except for the hood she usually wears with her long, like a cape, and just start buttoning it, like as the carriage driver leaves, obviously, like once he's gone. Pick Nye up and walk through the front door and say, "Sisters, I'm home," to the Dimmer household.
And how does Steam react when he sees that OC just carried Nye into the essentially the household of the Dimmer sisters?
Okay, Steam leapt off the top of the carriage as soon as it was determined that they were rolling into the Dimmer estate, like right outside the wrought iron gates.
Okay.
He watches from as the carriage leaves, and he watches her go in, and as he stares, a huge smile comes across his face, and he goes, "I was right. You are a god."
And that's where we're going to end it. That's where we're going to end it.
So, because the straw poll ended, Nye loses her memories.
It's okay,
What
guys.
was
I'll
the
give her
vote?
new ones.
8-6.
Wow. So it was close.
It's
That's
close.
impressive.
I would just like to say, fuck you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
from
you
the
essentially
Dimmer
chose the
sister
worst
household. Fuck you guys.
So, Queen of the Big Reveals tonight. Xmas Ninja Ninja. Let's do our outros real quick. Oh no, we have shit. We have XP and stuff. I always forget that.
It's okay. It's all good. Okay. So why don't we start with Miss Ginger Ninja and go with OC? What about your XP?
I did a desperate action.
Did you?
Not a desperate roll though.
There's a devil's bargain. I forgot.
I mean, I honestly think that when you take a devil's bargain, there should be some either positive benefit, mechanically speaking. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Addressed a challenge with deception or influence. I tried to get Penderin to come using my influence from our old score.
Right. Exactly.
Belief, strives, heritage, at least one for Nye.
Yes,
and definitely vice or traumas.
Yeah, you were dealing with your vice. You were struggling with your vice the entire time because it was all about the circumstances around, or that big breath of time that we took was all around Nye. So, and she is directly related to your vices. So, absolutely, I think you deserve 2 there.
So I am now an adept Aruvian swordswoman, swords lady.
Okay, so beginning of next session, just in a flashback form, I will ask you to describe just briefly what it was like from Nye being picked up, OC being picked up on the streets to her becoming an adept, and what that training experience was like. Was it brutal? Was it sort of father-daughter kind of a thing, or mother-daughter kind of a thing?
Okay.
What was the circumstance of it, and how did it affect who OC is today? Right, just in that experience. So just be prepared to for that for the next time.
Also, she's going with the falling star style.
Okay.
The adept is sash fighting. Real girly.
Make sure that you note that on your character sheet in the notes section.
Got it.
Excellent. Cool. So how about we go next with Mr. Bowerstone?
Okay, so no disconnections today. Deception or influence. I don't know. There was obviously one for the letter.
Well, I would almost argue that the result of that being, not only being a crit, not only the result of the letter, but also the fact that it got you a response from Balmore afterwards.
Okay.
I think that argues for 2.
Okay, that's perfect. Beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I can only think on the fact of him wanting to owe something to Nye, because he's a man of justice and he feels really bad. He was expecting it to be a clean sweep and everything go through, and one of basically his friends' partners is taking a real big fall because of his actions, what he commanded.
So it's interesting that you used a word in there that I found very interesting in the context of all the actions that Bowerstone has taken so far, whether it's as Bowerbomb or as Bowerstone. And I'd like you to think about it. And I agree with you in you get earning XP for it, but I want you to think about it in the context of the larger story, because this actually could play in. I mean, this could play in, from a motivation perspective. You said the word justice, and when you originally started playing Bowerstone and you wanted to do the Bowerbomb thing, after you realized that it wasn't a one shot and that you were forced to kind of move into and playing some real motivation. I always assumed that Bowerbomb's sense of justice was all about the same thing, very much like the Batman or the vigilante archetype. Now that that's shifting from the Bowerbomb into you're talking about this personal relationship here. Think about that and try to bring that into the context of the story as to what that actually means. What does the evolving sense of justice mean to Bowerstone now that he's no longer a vigilante?
Well, yeah, this thing with the mask off, essentially justice back then, it was just anger, aggression, beating people up for a sense of law. But now justice is more of what is fair, not taking advantage of people, making this society, the system that is so corrupt, into something that could be more, something more pure, as it were, which is crazy for a place like Doskvol.
Right.
But from once the shadows and now that's away to now, let's try and make this place better.
Right, and I could see that as part of the motivation, but it's interesting because that's different than the context of feeling personally responsible for the circumstances around Nye as she relates to OC, because it's almost counter to some of the actions that you take. And so I just think that the sense of justice is now going from being very simple, very naive almost, to very complex. So
call it like a mature growing up stage now.
Exactly. And the fact that you use the word justice kind of triggered that question for me. So okay, excellent. All right. So what about let's believe drives and heritage? You didn't struggle with your vice at all, or
no.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So let's move on to Steam.
Okay. Didn't make a desperate roll. Addressed the challenge with stealth. I think I definitely did that when I followed Nyx and in slipping into the ghost field and observing Nye. I think that I have a couple questions, because I think that slipping into the ghost field actually might work with the other one. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background.
Okay.
Because being so attuned with it and being Tycherosi and having all of that, I think I think there's an argument to be made for that one. The god complex that he's associated with, thinking that he can take care of this when technically he was out of his depth. I mean, he's not a whisper, he's not, but somehow he thought that he could go in there and help and whatnot. And I think that because he began at that point to think that OC may in fact be one of his pantheon, he did a little bit more than he normally would have. So I've got the stealth ones. I think I've got at least one of the beliefs, heritage, and background. And my other argument is he jumped off the carriage and did not ride into the Dimmer Sister estate, and that is completely against his god complex. Normally, he wouldn't be scared to go in there, but in this instance, he was. And,
Okay.
Should be.
yeah, and he as soon as he saw where the fuck she was going, he got off that thing before he even thought about it. And
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. You said something interesting there, though, that I'm going to ask you to just clarify, and then I'm going to subsequently want you to elaborate on at some other point on stream. You said Pantheon.
correct.
Are you collecting gods?
I guess that remains to be seen.
Okay, I'm going to want you to, as things come, like, yeah, that's exactly the face that I had. As we move forward, as more of that comes out, about more of the motivations, essentially the beliefs and drives for Steam comes out, I'm going to want you to explain what that means.
Collect or recruit?
Yes.
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 Yeah. That was my assumption too. That it's a yes. Okay. So, and you didn't struggle with your vice or traumas at all. So it sounds like you're pretty good.
Well, that's my one thing about the god complex. The struggling would have been, because I thought about it. I'm like, should I ride in there? Because technically thinks of himself as a god, and that he shouldn't be scared of the Dimmer Sisters because a god must be strong. A god must rise above, a god must have knowledge. But he jumped back and didn't go in with her, even though,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think that's definitely something that counts as a struggle. So,
Okay.
All
So
right, cool.
would that be 5? 2, 2, 1?
That sounds about right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Nix.
Cool. So no desperate actions. I addressed one challenge with calculation and/or conspiracy when trying to take the guards and spread the writings of one Lord Bowerstone. So I'll say
Okay.
1 XP for that. Let's see here. So I expressed a new belief. Nyx has a line. It's children.
Okay.
It's physically harming children.
Well, it's children. Though no one's seen it, but he's expressed that he doesn't hit children.
Under right conditions.
Yeah, under the right conditions, he doesn't hit children. So I would say that's expressed a belief. That's a new belief, at least. I don't think I have anything else for Drive's heritage or background. But for struggle with issues for your vice or traumas, Johnny, I'm going to give you one. I flipped that man over and beat him about the face and left him alive.
Yeah, I was going to point that out.
Yeah.
That is a perfect opportunity to say that you struggled, because I think Nyx's inclination, in the one circumstance that we've seen him actually indulge his vice, killed somebody. So
He's indulged it before, but he paid... So he killed somebody on purpose, and then he paid OC for someone for him to use.
right,
And then
right.
this is just... And then he beat up one of his homeless people another time. But this is just a random guy off the street. Well, he asked for... He pulled a Bauer bomb and asked for someone that deserved it, and then left
Absolutely.
him alive after seeing his face.
Right.
Cool, so that's 2. I have 2.
Okay. And now we go on to the crew real quickly.
Yeah, so let's see. The crew, 2 live crew. So a successful mission. We didn't do a successful operation. Contend with challenges above your station. I don't know. We didn't really contend with any challenges besides Nye. We sort of set ourselves up to contend with challenges.
Yeah, it's really set us.
Yeah,
up, not contemplating.
it's incredibly vague at this point. So
Yeah.
no, I don't think you did anything above your station.
I bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. I don't think we did that.
Oh,
actually,
the
no.
letter. Yeah.
But is that the crew's reputation? We had this discussion last week.
Oh, that's right.
Hold on. So, going back to the to contend with the challenge above your current station, you interacted and successfully gained an asset with the Imperial Armory.
Okay, cool. So I'll
They
take
don't
one there.
Yeah, they don't technically count as a faction because they're so goddamn big. They basically represent the Empire.
Yeah.
But They are definitely above your station.
Okay. So I don't think we bolstered our reputation or developed a new one.
No.
And then the last one is express goals, drives, inner conflict, or the essential nature of your crew. Nyx is not okay with OC trying to copy that book, and that is a new inner conflict we have.
What about her just waltzing off?
That's fine. The
To be fair, she said that she wouldn't do it if the group didn't want her to.
Right.
She was asking.
Yeah,
to be fair.
but to Nyx to bring it up, he's like, that's suspicious.
She's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, to Nyx's
That's
eyes,
fair.
that seems suspicious. So until proven otherwise, Nyx has a new inner conflict. I don't know if that counts as a crew XP. I'm not sure what that is.
Well, it does. Well, so inner conflict basically talks about the interpersonal relationships between the crew and how it actually sets up the circumstances. So it sounds like there's going to be a discussion at some point, especially given the responses that Steam was giving her about the reality behind doing the copying and whether it actually matters or not. So
Right.
there's actually a bit of a conflict between the three of you around that.
Right. Cool. So that's 2 XP for the crew.
Sure.
And that's
You're
it.
welcome for being distrustful, guys.
All right. And with that, we're going to turn it back over to Mike.
Cool. Yeah. So real quick, guys, just a reminder. If you guys want the awesome 6 and 20 shirt merchandise, we have t-shirts, we have hoodies. Ginger Ninja is wearing one now. I know Johnny has one. I know most of the cast has one. If you want it on a notebook, a mug, all kinds of cool stuff. ! merch in the chat. That will send you to our merch store. You can buy that there. Also, we have a contest ongoing right now. If you guys do any kind of art, and let me just pull up. I wrote a thing for this because I was told to write a thing for this.
We appreciate you writing a thing for this.
No problem. So it says, we want to see you bring the dark and dying world of Doskvol and its various enigmatic crews to life. This can be anything from dressing up in a cosplay of your favorite character, an artistic rendering of your favorite scene, creating a written lore based on something that happened in the show. Any kind of artwork that you guys want. Just tag at Blade620 on Twitter and use the hashtag 6and20 and hashtag 6and20art in your post. And at the end of the season, we'll go through and we'll pick at least a winner, and we'll send that person a free copy of Blades in the Dark so you guys can run your own Shadowed City of Doskvol. And with that, we'll jump over to the one, the only, Crit Dice Gaming. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
So tonight, Ginger, your character keeps getting more in depth. Greg, your character gets more badass. Mike, want the jacket back?
Nope.
But yeah, guys, I love this episode. I love where it's going. So I'm Slave from Crypto Gaming. You can come follow me on Twitch, Twitter, watch me do stupid stuff all the time in tight shirts and assless chaps. So yeah, that's my shout out.
Do you really own assless chaps?
That's a binding contract. Somebody
The
click
plug
that.
is over. The plug is over.
Ghost contract.
Your plug's
It's
never
official.
The plug is never over.
Speaking of plugs, X-Men Ninja, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
Didn't like that segue. Didn't like that.
You put it there. Just put it there.
All
To
right.
knock
So,
it
God fucking damn it. Go to someone. I got nothing now. I'm playing OC. We're finally getting a little bit into our backstory. Sorry, it was the OC show tonight. But I'm really excited for you guys to hear the other half of everything. It's going to get interesting.
Sweet.
Take Rossi's rule. That's all I got.
Sweet. We'll jump right over to Greg. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
Greg, Grimjack21502 on Twitch and Twitter, and I love tonight's episode. I got to sit back, and I am so psyched for this pantheon. Another god appears, and I knew it, and I get to see this wonderful stuff. I am envisioning great things, and I know it's going to even be better than that. So I cannot wait to see what happens with OC, and I'm going to try not to get Bowerstone killed whenever put to the test. So if I'm ever hanging around him. Whenever he gets
Much appreciated.
right, I'll hang around every once in a while. Thanks so much. I love being here. This game is super, super fun. I know I've been blowing you guys up, especially Johnny, in Discord. It's because you guys suck me in, man. I got to come back every week and get my fix, or it's going to get even worse. But thanks so much for having me. See you guys next week.
Awesome. And speaking of the wonderful DM, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of tonight's episode?
I thought that this was probably the first time that we've taken time on this particular show and really kind of delved into the backstory and kind of built and, told. I mean, Greg's introduction with Steam was amazing, right? There was a lot of stuff that happened, but you all did that in the same way, in your own right when you guys started on the show, right? This is the first time this season, and the first time that I think the group has come together in a character building circumstance that wasn't necessarily focused around a score or an entanglement of any kind. Sorry, as I'm reaching for this, but what I'm trying to basically do is give you guys a compliment. This was an amazing show from a stand back and looking at the group, the crew coming together in a real significant way perspective. Even though it felt like it was an OC show, it wasn't. I saw a lot of things going on. I saw Nick's kind of stepping back a little bit and letting the action happen. I saw Bowerstone stepping in and inserting himself. I saw the relationship being established between Steam and OC in a significant way. I think you guys did amazing tonight. This was an unusual show for this group, and I thought that was just awesome. I like Greg said, I got to sit back, I got to ask questions, and I got to watch a lot of what's going on. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about 6 and 20 in general, is that when I get to watch you guys just kind of establish yourself. So I had a great time. I'm Johnny, GM for 6 and 20. Happens here on Wednesday nights on Mike's channel. On unMadeGaming. On Thursday nights, we do the Phantom Crew, which is on Not So Speedrun's channel. Next Tuesday, we're going to start, again, still working on casting issues, but we're going to start, even if we have to start with the 2 players that I've already got cast. Third crew's coming in, 8 p.m. Pacific, or 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Those people are entering the world of 6 and 20. They're going to be a fresh, young crew. Let's see what they do. And then you guys will have to deal with the circumstances of there being a third influence on your little world. And I'm very curious to see how all of you respond. And with that, I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Sweet. Guys, and if you want to tell us what you guys thought about tonight's episode, go ahead and tweet at me on Twitter at unMadeGaming. Use the hashtag 620 and the hashtag Shroud will rise. And after that, I will. Let's see if we can do a little quick raid, guys. Let's see what friend of the show is streaming right this second. Let's find out. Let's see how unprepared I can be.
Speedy.
Speedy?
Bubbernot? It's too Speedy.
Let's do Speedy. I gotta find him.
Is he streaming actually?
Yeah.
Is he?
Why is it not?
Escapists 2.
It's not even showing up for me. That's weird.
Me either.
Scrubs.
Yeah, he's not streaming. Refresh.
Shut up, noob.
Yeah, I don't see him on my list. Oh, there he is. Got him. Got him.
Why is he
always
not
doubting me?
Cool. So, guys, we're going to head over to Speedy's channel, Not So Speedruns. Guys, give him all your love and all your 6 and 20 Blades in the Dark love. And from all of us to you guys, bye-bye.